Thank you all so much for joining us today on the auspicious occasion of the New Year Satsang. We'll be following the program as sent in the email. Just a gentle reminder to please stay on mute throughout the Veda chanting session. We'll go ahead and get started with 3 ohms.
ॐ गणानान्त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्रयवतो गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम् ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय ॐ नमस्ते रुद्रमन्यबहुतो तैषवे नमः नमस्ते अस्तु धन्वने बाहुभ्यामुतते नमः या तैषः शिवतमा शिवं बभूवते धनुः शिवा शरव्या या तव तया नो रुद्रमृडया या ते रुद्रशिवा तनूरघोरा पापकाशिनी तया नस्तनुवाशन्तमया गिरिशन्ताभिचाकशीः यामिषं गिरिशन्तहस्ते बिभर्ष्यस्तवे शिवां गिरित्रतां कुरु माहिपुंसि पुरुषं जगत् शिवेन वचसा त्वा गिरिशाच्च वदामसि यथा नः सर्वमिज्जगदयक्ष्मगुं सुमना असत् अद्य वोचदति वक्ता प्रथमो दैव्योऽभिषक् अहिगुष्य सर्वा आञ्जम्बयन् सर्वा आश्च यातु धान्यः असव्यस्ताम्रो अरुण उत भभ्रुः सुमङ्गलः ये चैमागुं रुद्रा अभितो दिक्षु श्रिता सहस्रशो वैशागुं हेडयीमहे असव्यो वसर्पति नीलग्रीवो विलोहितः उतैनं गोपा अदृशन्नदृशन्नुदहार्यः उतैनं विश्वा भूतानि सदृष्टो मृडयाति नः नमो अस्तु नीलग्रीवाय सहस्राक्षाय मीडुषे अतो ये अस्य सत्त्वानो हन्तेभ्यो करन्नमः प्रमुष्य धन्वनस्त्वमुभयोरार्नियोज्यां याश्च ते हस्तैषवः पराथा पगवो वपा अवतत्यधनुस्त्वगुं सहस्राक्षशतेषु दे निशीर्य शल्यानां मुखा शिवो नः सुमना भव पिज्जं दनः कपर्दिनो विशल्यो बाणवागुम्भुता अनेशन्नस्येषव आबुरस्य निषङ्गतिः या ते हेतिर्मीडुष्टमहस्ते बभूव ते धनुः तयास्मान् विश्वतत्स्वमयक्ष्मया परिपुजा नमस्ते अस्त्वायुधाय नातताय तृष्णवे उभाभ्यामुत ते नमो बाहुभ्यां तव धन्वने परिते धन्वनो हेतिरस्मान् वृणक्तु विश्वतः अतो ययुषुधिस्तवारे अस्मन्निते हितम् नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्रयम्बकाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकण्ठाय मृत्युञ्जयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः नमो हिरण्यबाहवे सेनान्ये दिशाञ्च पतये नमो नमो वृक्षेभ्यो हरिकेशेभ्यः पशूनां पतये नमो नमः सस्पिञ्जराय द्विषीमते पथिनां पतये नमो नमो बभ्लुषाय विव्याधिनेन्नानां पतये नमो नमो हरिकेशायोपवीतिने पुष्टानां पतये नमो नमो भवस्य हेत्यै जगतां पतये नमो नमो रुद्राय तथा विनेक्षेत्राणां पतये नमो नमः सूताय हन्त्याय वनानां पतये नमो नमो रोहिताय स्तपतये वृक्षाणां पतये नमो नमो मन्त्रिणे वाणिजाय कक्षाणां पतये नमो नमो भुवन्तये वारिवस्कृताय औषधीनां पतये नमो नमः उच्छैर्घोषाय क्रन्दयते पत्तीनां पतये नमो नमः कृष्णवीथाय धावते सत्त्वनां पतये नमः नमः सहमानाय निर्व्याधिन आव्याधिनीनां पतये नमो नमः ककुभाय निषङ्गिने स्तेनानां पतये नमो नमो निषङ्गिन इषुधिमते तस्कराणां पतये नमो नमो वञ्चते परिवञ्चते स्तायूनां पतये नमो नमो निचेरते परिचरायारण्यानां पतये नमो नमः श्रिकाभिभ्योजिकाकुं सद्यो मुष्णतां पतये नमो नमो सिमद्भ्यो नक्तञ्चरभ्यः प्रकृन्तानां पतये नमो नमः उष्णीषिने गिरिचराय कुलुञ्चानां पतये नमो नमः इषुमद्भ्यो दन्वाभिभ्यः वो नमो नमो आतन्वानेभ्यः प्रतिदतानेभ्यः वो नमो नमः आयच्छद्भ्यो विसृजद्भ्यः वो नमो नमोऽस्यभ्यो विद्यभ्यः वो नमो नमः आसीनेभ्यः शयानेभ्यः वो नमो नमः स्वपद्भ्यो जाग्रद्भ्यः वो नमो नमस्तिष्ठभ्यो तावद्भ्यः वो नमो नमः सभाभ्यः सभापतिभ्यः वो नमो नमो अश्वेभ्यो अश्वपतिभ्यः वो नमः नम आव्यादिनीभ्यो विविध्यन्तीभ्यः वो नमो नमः उगनाभ्यस्त्रिगुंहतिभ्यः वो नमो नमो गृत्सेभ्यो गृत्सपतिभ्यः वो नमो नमो व्रातेभ्यो व्रातपतिभ्यः वो नमो नमो गणेभ्यो घनपतिभ्यः वो नमो नमो विरूपेभ्यो विश्वरूपेभ्यः वो नमो नमो महद्यः चुल्लकेभ्यः वो नमो नमो रतिभ्यो रतेभ्यः वो नमो नमो रतेभ्यो रतपतिभ्यः वो नमो नमः सेनाभ्यः सेनानिभ्यः वो नमो नमः शत्रुभ्यः सङ्ग्रहीतृभ्यः वो नमो नमस्तक्षभ्यो रतकारेभ्यः वो नमो नमः कुलालेभ्यः कर्मारेभ्यः वो नमो नमः पुञ्जिष्टेभ्यो निषादेभ्यः वो नमो नमः इषुकृद्भ्यो धन्वकृद्भ्यः वो नमो नमो मृगयुभ्यश्वनिभ्यः वो नमो नमः श्वभ्यश्वपतिभ्यः वो नमः नमो भवाय च रुद्राय च नमः शर्वाय च पशुपतये च नमो नीलग्रीवाय च शितिकण्ठाय च नमः कपर्दिने च प्युक्तकेशाय च नमः सहस्राक्षाय च शततन्वने च नमो गिरिशाय च शिपिविष्टाय च नमो मीडुष्टमाय चेषुमते च नमो ह्रस्वाय च वामनाय च नमो बृहते च वर्षीयसे च नमो वृद्धाय च संवृध्वने च नमो अग्र्याय च प्रथमाय च नमः आशवे चाजिराय च नमः शीघ्रियाय च शीभ्याय च नमः ऊर्म्याय चावस्वन्याय च नमः श्रोतस्याय च द्वीप्याय च नमो ज्येष्ठाय च कनिष्ठाय च नमः पूर्वजाय च परजाय च नमो मध्यमाय चापगल्भाय च नमो जगन्याय च बुद्धियाय च नमः सोऽप्याय च प्रतिसर्याय च नमो याम्याय च क्षेम्याय च नमः उर्वर्याय च खल्याय च नमः श्लोक्याय चावसान्याय च नमो वन्याय च कक्ष्याय च नमः श्रवाय च प्रतिश्रवाय च नमः आशुषेनाय चाशुरताय च नमः शूराय चापबिन्दते च नमो वर्मिने च वरूदिने च नमो बिल्मिने च कवचिने च नमः श्रुताय च श्रुतसेनाय च नमो दुन्दुभ्याय चाहनन्याय च नमो धृष्णवे च प्रमुषाय च नमो दूताय च प्रहिताय च नमो निषङ्गिने चेषु धिमते च नमस्तीक्ष्णेशवे चायुधिने च नमः स्वायुधाय च सुदन्वने च नमः श्रुत्याय च पत्याय च नमः काट्याय च नीप्याय च नमः सूत्याय च सरस्याय च नमो नाद्याय च वैशन्ताय च नमः कूप्याय च पट्याय च नमो वर्ष्याय च वर्ष्याय च नमो मेघ्याय च विद्युत्याय च नमः ईद्रियाय च तप्याय च नमो वात्याय च रेश्मियाय च नमो वास्तव्याय च वास्तुपाय च ॐ हर 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 ॐ नमः सोमाय च रुद्राय च नमस्ताम्राय चारुणाय च नमः शङ्गाय च पशुपतये च नमः उग्राय च भीमाय च नमो अग्रे बधाय च दूरे बधाय च नमो हन्त्रे च हनीयसे च नमो वृक्षेभ्यो हरिकेशेभ्यो नमस्ताराय नमः शम्भवे च मयोभवे च नमः शङ्कराय च मयस्कराय च नमः शिवाय च शिवतराय च नमस्तीत्याय च कूल्याय च नमः पार्याय च पार्याय च नमः प्रतरणाय चोत्तरणाय च नमः आतार्याय च लाद्याय च नमः शष्प्याय च फेन्याय च नमः सिकत्याय च प्रवाह्याय च नम इरिण्याय च प्रपत्याय च नमः किगुंशिलाय च क्षयनाय च नमः कपर्दिने च पुलस्तये च नमो गोष्ठ्याय च गृह्याय च नमस्तल्प्याय च गेह्याय च नमः काट्याय च गह्वरेष्टाय च नमो हृदयाय च निवेश्याय च नमः पागुंसव्याय च रजस्याय च नमः शुष्क्याय च हरित्याय च नमो लोप्याय चोलप्याय च नमः ऊर्व्याय च सूर्म्याय च नमः पर्ण्याय च पर्णशद्याय च नमो पगुरमानाय चाभिघ्नते च नमः आखिदते च प्रखिदते च नमो वह्किरिकेभ्यो देवानागुं हृदयेभ्यो नमो विक्षीणकेभ्यो नमो विचिन्वत्केभ्यो नम आनिर्हतेभ्यो नम आमीवत्केभ्यः द्रापे अन्धसस्पते दरिद्रन्नीललोहिता येषां पुरुषाणामेषां पशूनां माभेर्मारोमो येषां किञ्चनामवत् या ते रुद्रशिवा तनो शिवा विश्वाह भेषजी शिवा रुद्रस्य भेषजी तया नो मृडजीवसे इमागुं रुद्राय तवसे कपर्दिने क्षयद्वीराय प्रवरामहे मतिम् यथा नश्यमसद्विपदे चतुष्पदे विश्वं पुष्टं ग्रामे अस्मिन्ननातुरं मृडानो रुद्रो तनो मयस्कृति क्षयद्वीराय नमसा विधेमते यच्चञ्चयोश्च मनुराय जय पिता तदश्याम तव रुद्रप्रणीतौ मानो महान्तमुतमानो अर्भकं मानभुक्षन्तमुतमानभुक्षितं मानो वदीपितरं मोतमातरं प्रियामानस्तनुवो रुद्ररीरिषः मानस्तोक्येतनये मान आयुषिमानो गोषुमानो अश्वेषुरीरिषः वीरान्मानो रुद्रभामितो वदिर्हविष्मन्तो नमसा विधेमते आराते गोग्नवुत पूरुषग्ने क्षयद्वीराय सुं नमस्मे ते अस्तु रक्षा च नो अधि च दे बभ्रूयता च नः शर्म यच्छद्विपर्रा आह स्तुहि श्रुतं गर्दसदं युवानं मृगन्न भीममुपहन्तु मुग्रं मृडा चरित्रे रुद्रस्तवानो अन्यन्ते अस्मन्निवपन्तु सेना परिणो रुद्रस्य हेतुर्वृणक्तु परित्वेषस्य दुर्मतिरगायोः अवस्थिरामगवद्भ्यस्तनुष्वमेध्वस्तोकायतनयाय मृडया मेदुष्टम शिवतम शिवो नः सुमना भव परमे वृक्ष आयुधन्निधाय कृत्तिं वसान आचर पिनाकं बिभ्रदागहि विकिरदविलोहित नमस्ते अस्तु भगवः यास्ते सहस्रगुं हेतयोऽन्यमस्मन्निवपन्तु ताः सहस्राणि सहस्रदा बाहुवोस्तव हेतयः तासामीशानो भगवः पराचीनामुखाकृति सहस्राणि सहस्रशो ये रुद्रा अधिभूम्या तेषाकुं सहस्रयोजने वधन्वानि तन्मसि अस्मिन् महत्यर्नवे एन्तरिक्षे भवा अधि नीलग्रीवाशितिकण्ठा शर्वा अधः क्षमाचराः नीलग्रीवाशितिकण्ठा दिवकुं रुद्रावुपश्रिताः ये वृक्षेषु सस्पिञ्जरा नीलग्रीवा विलोहिताः ये भूतानामधिपतयो विशिखासक्कपर्दिनः ये अन्येषु विविद्यन्ति पात्रेषु पिबतो जनान ये पतां पतिरक्षय ऐलवृदायप्युदः ये तीर्थानि प्रचरन्ति श्रुकापन्तो निषङ्गिनः य एतावन्तस्य भूयाकुंसश्च दिशो रुद्राभितस्थिरे तेषाकुं सहस्रयोजने वधन्वानि तन्मसि नमो रुद्रेभ्यो ये पृथिव्यां ये एन्तरिक्षे ये दिवि येषामन्नं वातो वर्षमिषवस्तेभ्यो दश प्राचिर्दश दक्षिणा दश प्रति चीर्दशोति चीर्दशोर्ध्वास्तेभ्यो नमस्ते नो मृडयन्तु तेयम् द्विष्मो यश्च नो द्वेष्टितं भोजं वे दधामि त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षयमामृतात् यो रुद्रो अग्नव्यो अप्सु य औषधीषु यो रुद्रो विश्वा भुवना विवेश तस्मै रुद्राय नमो अस्तु एते सहस्रमयुतं पाशा मृत्योमर्त्याय हन्तवे तान् यज्ञस्य मायया सर्वानवयजामहे मृत्यवे स्वाहा प्राणानां ग्रन्थिरसि रुद्रो मा विशान्तकः तेनान्नेन आप्यायस्व नमो रुद्राय विष्णवे मृत्युर्मे पाहि तमुष्ट हि यश्विषुत्सुधन्वायो विश्वस्य क्षयति भेषजस्य यक्ष्वा महेशौ ओ मनसाय रुद्रं नमो ओभिर्देवमसुरन्दुवस्य अयं मे हस्तो भगवान् अयं मे भगवत्तरः अयं मे विश्वभे एष जोयगुं शिवापिमर्शनः ॐ शान्तिः 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 शञ्च मे मयश्च मे प्रियञ्च मे नु कामश्च मे सौमनसश्च मे भद्रञ्च मे श्रेयश्च मे वस्यश्च मे यशश्च मे भगश्च मे द्रविणञ्च मे यन्ता च मे दत्ता च मे क्षेमश्च मे धृतिश्च मे विश्वञ्च मे महश्च मे संविच्च मे ज्ञात्रञ्च मे सूश्च मे प्रसूश्च मे सीरञ्च मे लयश्च मरुतञ्च मे मृतञ्च मे यक्ष्मञ्च मे नामयच्च मे जीवातुश्च मे दीर्घायुत्मञ्च मे नमित्रञ्च मे भयञ्च मे सुगञ्च मे शयनञ्च मे सुषा च मे सुदिनञ्च मे ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ दाता पुरस्ताद्यमुदा जहार शक्रः प्रविद्वान् प्रतिशस्य तस्रः तमेवं विद्वानमृत इह भवति नान्यः पन्था अयनाय विद्यते ॐ सहस्रशीर्षं देवं विश्वाक्षं विश्वशम्भुवं विश्वं नारायणं देवमक्षरं परमं पदं विश्वतः परमान्नित्यं विश्वं नारायणगुं हरिं विश्वमेवेदं पुरुषस्तद्विश्वमुपजीवति पतिं विश्वस्यात्मेश्वरगुं शाश्वतगुं शिवमच्युतं नारायणमहाज्ञेयं विश्वात्मानं परायणम् नारायण परो ज्योतिरात्मा नारायणः परः नारायण परं ब्रह्म तत्त्वं नारायणः परः नारायण परो ध्याता ध्यानं नारायणः परः यच्च किञ्चिज्जगत् सर्वं दृश्यते श्रूयतेऽपि वा अन्तर्बहिष्य तत्सर्वं व्याप्य नारायणस्थितः अनन्तमव्ययं कविगुं समुद्रेऽन्तं विश्वशम्भुवम् पद्मकोशप्रतीकाशगं हृदयं चाप्यधोमुखम् अधो निष्ट्याभितस्यान्ते नाभ्यामुपरि तिष्ठति ज्वालमालाकुलं भाति विश्वस्यायतनं महत् सन्ततगुं शिलापिस्तुलं पत्याकोशसन्निभम् तस्यान्ते सुषिरगुं सूक्ष्मं तस्मिन् सर्वं प्रतिष्ठितम् तस्य मध्ये महानग्निर्विश्वार्चिर्विश्वतो मुखः सोऽग्रभुग्विभजन्तिष्ठन्नाहारमचरः कविः तिर्यगूर्ध्वमदशायी रश्मयस्तस्य सन्तता सन्तापयति स्वं देहमापादतलमस्तकः तस्य मध्ये बह्निशिखा अनियोर्ध्वा व्यवस्थितः नीलतो यदमध्यस्ताद्विद्युल्लेखे बभास्वरा नीवारशूकवत्तन्वी पीताबा आस्वत्यनुपमा तस्या आशिखाया मध्ये परमा आत्मा व्यवस्थितः स ब्रह्मः स शिवः स हरिस्सेन्द्रः सोऽक्षरः परमस्वराट् ऋतगुं सत्यं परं ब्रह्म पुरुषं कृष्णपिङ्गलम् ऊर्ध्वरेतं विरूपाक्षं विश्वरूपाय वै नमो नमः ॐ नारायणाय विद्महे वासुदेवाय धीमहि तन्नो विष्णुः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ योपां पुष्पं वेद पुष्पवान् प्रजावान् पशुमान् भवति चन्द्रमा वा अपां पुष्पं पुष्पवान् प्रजावान् पशुमान् भवति य एवं वेद योपामायतनं वेद आयतनवान् भवति अग्निर्वा अपामायतनम् आयतनवान् भवति यो अग्नेरायतनं वेद आयतनवान् भवति आपो वा अग्नेरायतनम् आयतनवान् भवति य एवं वेद योपामायतनं वेद आयतनवान् भवति वायुर्वा अपामायतनम् आयतनवान् भवति यो वायोरायतनं वेद आयतनवान् भवति आपो वै वायोरायतनम् आयतनवान् भवति य एवं वेद योपामायतनं वेद आयतनवान् भवति असुवै तपन्नपामायतनम् आयतनवान् भवति यो मुष्यतपत आयतनं वेद आयतनवान् भवति आपो वा अमुष्यतपत आयतनम् आयतनवान् भवति य एवं वेद योपामायतनं वेद आयतनवान् भवति चन्द्रमा वा अपामायतनम् आयतनवान् भवति यश्चन्द्रमस आयतनं वेद आयतनवान् भवति आपो वै चन्द्रमस आयतनम् आयतनवान् भवति य एवं वेद योपामायतनं वेद आयतनवान् भवति नक्षत्राणि वा अपामायतनम् आयतनवान् भवति यो नक्षत्राणामायतनं वेद आयतनवान् भवति आपो वै नक्षत्राणामायतनम् आयतनवान् भवति य एवं वेद योपामायतनं वेद आयतनवान् भवति पर्जन्यो वा अपामायतनम् आयतनवान् भवति यः पर्जन्यस्यायतनं वेद आयतनवान् भवति आपो वै पर्जन्यस्यायतनम् आयतनवान् भवति य एवं वेद योपामायतनं वेद आयतनवान् भवति संवत्सरो वा अपामायतनम् आयतनवान् भवति यत्संवत्सरस्यायतनं वेद आयतनवान् भवति आपो वै संवत्सरस्यायतनम् आयतनवान् भवति य एवं वेद योऽप्सुनावं प्रतिष्ठितां वेद प्रत्यैव तिष्ठति। ॐ राजाधिराजाय प्रसह्य साहिने नमो वयं वै श्रवणाय कुर्महे समे कामान् कामकामाय मह्यं कामेश्वरो वै श्रवणो ददातु कुबेराय वै श्रवणाय महाराजाय नमः। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ यदक्षरपदभ्रष्टं मात्राहीनं तु यद्भवेत् तत्सर्वं क्षम्यतां देवा नारायण नमोऽस्तु ते। विसर्गबिन्दुमात्राणि पदपादाक्षराणि च न्यूनानि चातिरिक्तानि क्षमस्व सातीश्वर। अपराधसहस्राणि क्रियन्ते हर्निशं मया दासोऽयमिति मामत्वा क्षमस्व सातीश्वर। अन्यदा शरणं नास्ति त्वमेव शरणं मम तस्मात् कारुण्यभावेन रक्ष रक्ष साईश्वर। हरि ओम तत्सत् श्री साईश्वरार्पणमस्तु। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः।
ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। आशीर्वादम get brilliance. शुक्रपात्रेण गृह्णाति गृह्णाति शुक्रपात्रेण गृह्णाति यजमान देवत्यो गृह्णाति शुक्रपात्रेण गृह्णाति यजमान देवत्या शुक्रपात्रेणेति शुक्रपात्रेण गृह्णाति यजमान देवत्यो गृह्णाति यजमान देवत्यो वै यजमान देवत्यो गृह्णाति यजमान देवत्यो वै यजमान देवत्यो वै यजमान देवत्यो वै महेन्द्रो वै यजमान देवत्यो वै महेन्द्रः यजमान देवत्य इति यजमाना देवत्यः वै महेन्द्रो वै महेन्द्र तेजो महेन्द्रो वै महेन्द्र तेजः महेन्द्र तेजो महेन्द्रो महेन्द्र तेज शुक्र तेजो महेन्द्रो महेन्द्र तेज शुक्र महेन्द्र इति महा इन्द्रः तेज शुक्र तेज शुक्रो यद्य शुक्र तेज शुक्रो यद् शुक्रो यद्य शुक्रो यन्महेन्द्रं यत् शुक्रो यन्महेन्द्रं महेन्द्रं यत् यन्महेन्द्रगुं शुक्रपात्रेण महेन्द्रं यत् यन्महेन्द्रगुं शुक्रपात्रेण महेन्द्रगुं शुक्रपात्रेण महेन्द्रगुं शुक्रपात्रेण गृह्णाति शुक्रपात्रेण महेन्द्रगुं शुक्रपात्रेण गृह्णाति महेन्द्रमिति महा इन्द्रम् शुक्रपात्रेण गृह्णाति शुक्रपात्रेण गृह्णाति यजमाने गृह्णाति शुक्रपात्रेण गृह्णाति यजमाने शुक्रपात्रेणेति शुक्रपात्रेण गृह्णाति यजमाने गृह्णाति यजमान एवैव यजमाने गृह्णाति यजमान एव यजमान एवैव यजमाने यजमान एव तेजस्य एव यजमाने यजमान एव तेजः एव तेजस्तेज एवैव तेजो ददाति तेज एवैव तेजो ददाति तेजस्तेजो ददाति दधाति दधाति
Sai Rama will be starting the center bhajan session in about a minute. Sai Rama, thank you all so much for joining us today on the auspicious occasion of the New Year Satsang. We'll be following the program I sent in the email, and just a gentle reminder to please be on mute throughout the session, unless if it's your turn to render your bhajan. We'll be starting off with 3 ohms. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Om Gananam Tva Ganapatigam Havamahe Kavim Kavinamupamashravastamam Jayastarajam Brahmanam Brahmaspatana Shunvannoti Sadanam Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebir Vajanivati Dinama Vitrayavatu Ganeshaya Namaha Saraswatye Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Om Shri Bhagavan Satya Sai Babaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Satya Swarupaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Satya Dharma Parayanaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Varadaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Satpurushaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Satya Gunatmane Namaha. Om Shri Sai Sadhuvardhanaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Sadhu Jana Poshanaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Sarvajnaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Sarvajana Priyaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Sarvasakti Murtaye Namaha. Om Shri Sai Sarveshaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Sarvasanga Parityagine Namaha. Om Shri Sai Mahimatmane Namaha. Om Shri Sai Maheshwara Swarupaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Pattigramodbhavaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Pattikshetra Nivasine Namaha. Om Shri Sai Yashakaya Shirdi Vasine Namaha. Om Shri Sai Jodiyadi Palli Somappaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Bharadvaja Rishigotraya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Bhaktavaschalaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Apantaratmane Namaha. Om Shri Sai Avataramurtaye Namaha. Om Shri Sai Sarvabhaya Nivarine Namaha. Om Shri Sai Apastamba Sutraya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Abhayapradaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Ratnakara Vamshodbhavaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Shirdi Sai Abheda Shakti Avataraya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Shankaraya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Shirdi Sai Murtaye Namaha. Om Shri Sai Dwarakamayi Vasine Namaha. Om Shri Sai Chitravati Tadaputtapatti Viharine Namaha. Om Shri Sai Shakti Pradaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Sharanagatatranaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Anandaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Anandadaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Aptatranaparayana Namaha. Om Shri Sai Anadanadaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Asahaya Sahayaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Lokabandhavaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Lokaraksha Parayanaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Lokanadhaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Deenajana Poshanaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Murti Traya Swarupaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Mukti Pradaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Kalsha Viduraya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Karunakaraya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Sarvadharaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Sarvahridayavasine Namaha. Om Shri Sai Sarva Punya Falapradaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Sarva Papa Kshayakaraya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Sarva Roga Nivarine Namaha. Om Shri Sai Sarva Bada Haraya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Anantanutakatrine Namaha. Om Shri Sai Adi Purushaya Namaha. Om Shri Sai Adi Shaktiye Namaha. Om Shri Sai Aprupa Shaktine Namaha. Om Shri Sai Avyakta Rupine Namaha. Om Shri Sai Kama Krodha Dvamsine Namaha. Om Shri Sai Kanakambaradharine Namaha. Om Shri Sai Adbhutacharyaya Namaha. ओम श्री साई आपत्पांडवाय नमः। ओम श्री साई प्रेमात्मने नमः। ओम श्री साई प्रेममूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री साई प्रेमप्रदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई प्रियाय नमः। ओम श्री साई भक्तप्रियाय नमः। ओम श्री साई भक्तमंदाराय नमः। ओम श्री साई भक्तजन हृदय विहाराय नमः। ओम श्री साई भक्तजन हृदयालयाय नमः। ओम श्री साई भक्तपराधीनाय नमः। ओम श्री साई भक्ति ज्ञान प्रदीपाय नमः। ओम श्री साई भक्ति ज्ञान प्रदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई सुज्ञान मार्गदर्शकाय नमः। ओम श्री साई ज्ञान स्वरूपाय नमः। ओम श्री साई गीता बोधकाय नमः। ओम श्री साई ज्ञान सिद्धिदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई सुंदर रूपाय नमः। ओम श्री साई पुण्य पुरुषाय नमः। ओम श्री साई फलप्रदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ओम श्री साई पुराण पुरुषाय नमः। ओम श्री साई अतीताय नमः। ओम श्री साई कालातीताय नमः। ओम श्री साई सिद्धिरूपाय नमः। ओम श्री साई सिद्ध संकल्पाय नमः। ओम श्री साई आरोग्यप्रदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई अन्नवस्त्रदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई संसार दुःखक्षयकराय नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वाभीष्टप्रदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई कल्याण गुणाय नमः। ओम श्री साई कर्मध्वंसिने नमः। ओम श्री साई साधु मानस शोभिताय नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वमत सम्मताय नमः। ओम श्री साई साधु मानस परिशोधकाय नमः। ओम श्री साई साधकानुग्रह वट वृक्ष प्रतिष्ठापकाय नमः। ओम श्री साई सकल संशय हराय नमः। ओम श्री साई सकल तत्व बोधकाय नमः। ओम श्री साई योगीश्वराय नमः। ओम श्री साई योगींद्र वंदिताय नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वमंगलकराय नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वसिद्धिप्रदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई आपन्निवारिणे नमः। ओम श्री साई आर्तिहराय नमः। ओम श्री साई शांतमूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री साई सुलभ प्रसन्नाय नमः। ओम श्री साई भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबाय नमः।
भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्।
ओम साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। साई रामाय विद्महे आत्मा रामाय धीमहि तन्नो बाबा प्रचोदयात्। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Sai Rama, all of you please repeat after me. O Lord,
O Lord,
take my love,
take my love,
let it flow
let it flow
in full devotion
in full devotion
to thee.
to thee.
O Lord,
O Lord,
take my hands,
take my hands,
let them work
let them work
unceasingly
unceasingly
for thee.
for thee.
O Lord,
O Lord,
take my soul,
take my soul,
let merge in
let merge it
perfect oneness
perfect oneness
with thee.
with thee.
O Lord,
O Lord,
take my mind,
take my mind,
let my thoughts
let my thoughts
be in tune
be in tune
with thee.
with thee.
O Lord,
O Lord,
take my everything,
take my everything,
and let me
and let me
be an instrument
be an instrument
for thee.
for thee.
जय हो मूषिक वाहन हे शिव नंदन प्रथम बंदना हे शिव नंदन प्रथम बंदना पार्वती तनया सिद्धि विनायक पार्वती तनया सिद्धि विनायक शरणं शरणं विघ्नहरणं शरणं शरणं विघ्नहरणं हे शिवनंदन प्रथम बंदना हे शिवनंदन प्रथम बंदना जय हो मूषिक वाहन हे शिवनंदन प्रथम बंदना पार्वती तनया सिद्धि विनायक शरणं शरणं विघ्नहरणं हे शिवनंदन प्रथम बंदना हे शिवनंदन प्रथम बंदना जय हो मूषिक वाहन।
साईराम।
साक्षात परब्रह्म साक्षात परब्रह्म साई गुरु वंदना सत्य साई साक्षात परब्रह्म साई गुरु वंदना सत्य साई गुरुपद रंजन गुरु परमेशा गुरुपद रंजन गुरु परमेशा गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु महेशा गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु महेशा सद्गुरु साई परति पुरीशा सद्गुरु साई परति पुरीशा चरण नमोस्तुते साई महेशा चरण नमोस्तुते साई महेशा साक्षात परब्रह्म साई गुरुवंदना सत्य साई गुरुपद रंजन गुरु परमेशा गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु महेशा सद्गुरु साई परति पुरीशा चरण नमोस्तुते साई महेशा साक्षात परब्रह्म साई गुरुवंदना सत्य साई साईराम।
Karthik, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. संतोषी माँ जय जय साई माँ, जय 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 संतोषी माँ जय जय साई माँ, मंगलकरिणी माँ साई संकटहरिणी माँ, मंगलकरिणी माँ साई संकटहरिणी माँ, त्रिलोकपालिनी माँ साई त्रिशूलधारिणी माँ, त्रिलोकपालिनी माँ साई त्रिशूलधारिणी माँ, जय संतोषी माँ जय जय साई माँ, जय संतोषी माँ जय जय साई माँ, जय संतोषी माँ जय जय साई माँ, मंगलनी माँ साई संकटहरिणी माँ, मंगलकरिणी माँ साई संकटहरिणी माँ, त्रिलोकपालिनी माँ साई त्रिशूलधारिणी माँ, त्रिलोकपालिनी माँ साई त्रिशूलधारिणी माँ, जय संतोषी माँ जय जय साई माँ।
बोलो नारायण जय जय विठ्ठला, 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 साई नारायण रंग रंग 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 विठ्ठला, बोलो नारायण जय जय विठ्ठला, बोलो नारायण जय जय विठ्ठला, गोविंद विठ्ठला रखुमाई विठ्ठला, गोविंद विठ्ठला रखुमाई विठ्ठला, गोविंद विठ्ठला रखुमाई विठ्ठला, गोविंद विठ्ठला रखुमाई विठ्ठला, गोपाल विठ्ठला पांडुरंग विठ्ठला, गोपाल विठ्ठला पांडुरंग विठ्ठला, गोपाल विठ्ठला पांडुरंग विठ्ठला, गोपाल विठ्ठला पांडुरंग विठ्ठला, श्रीरंग विठ्ठला साई रंग 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 विठ्ठला, बोलो नारायण जय जय विठ्ठला, बोलो नारायण जय जय विठ्ठला, साई नारायण रंग रंग विठ्ठला, साई नारायण रंग रंग विठ्ठला, बोलो नारायण जय जय विठ्ठला, बोलो नारायण जय जय विठ्ठला, गोविंद विठ्ठला रखुमाई विठ्ठला, गोविंद विठ्ठला रखुमाई विठ्ठला, गोपाल विठ्ठला पांडुरंग विठ्ठला, गोपाल विठ्ठला पांडुरंग विठ्ठला, श्रीरंग विठ्ठला साई रंग 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 विठ्ठला, बोलो नारायण जय जय विठ्ठला।
साईराम। मानस भज रे गुरु चरणम, दुस्तर भव सागर तरणम मानस भजो रे गुरु चरणम दुस्तर भव सागर तरणम गुरु महाराज गुरु जय जय गुरु महाराज गुरु जय जय साईनाथ सतगुरु जय जय साईनाथ सतगुरु जय जय ओम नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः ओम अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुण शिव ओंकारं बाबा ओंकारं बाबा ओंकारं बाबा ओम नमो बाबा मानस भजरे गुरु चरणम दुस्तर भव सागर तरनम गुरु महाराज गुरु जय जय साईनाथ सत गुरु जय जय ओम नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः ओम अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुण शिव ओंकारं बाबा ओंकारं बाबा ओंकारं बाबा ओम नमो बाबा मानस भजो रे गुरु चरणम दुस्तर भव सागर तरणम साईराम
अखंड ज्योति जलाओ साई मन मंदिर में अखंड ज्योति जलाओ अखंड ज्योति जलाओ अखंड ज्योति जलाओ साई मन मंदिर में अखंड ज्योति जलाओ अखंड ज्योति जलाओ कोटि सूर्य सम तेज स्वरूपा कोटि सूर्य सम तेज स्वरूपा साई तुम हो दिव्य स्वरूपा साई तुम हो दिव्य स्वरूपा अखंड ज्योति जलाओ अखंड ज्योति जलाओ अखंड ज्योति जलाओ अखंड ज्योति जलाओ दिव्य ज्योति ज्ञान ज्योति प्रेम ज्योति जलाओ दिव्य ज्योति ज्ञान ज्योति प्रेम ज्योति जलाओ अखंड 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 ज्योति जलाओ साई मन मंदिर में अखंड ज्योति जलाओ अखंड ज्योति जलाओ अखंड ज्योति जलाओ साई मन मंदिर में अखंड ज्योति जलाओ अखंड ज्योति जलाओ कोटि सूर्य समतेज स्वरूपा कोटि सूर्य समतेज स्वरूपा साई तुम हो दिव्य स्वरूपा साई तुम हो दिव्य स्वरूपा अखंड ज्योति जलाओ अखंड ज्योति जलाओ अखंड ज्योति जलाओ अखंड ज्योति जलाओ दिव्य ज्योति ज्ञान ज्योति प्रेम ज्योति जलाओ दिव्य ज्योति ज्ञान ज्योति प्रेम ज्योति जलाओ अखंड 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 ज्योति जलाओ साई मन मंदिर में अखंड ज्योति जलाओ अखंड ज्योति जलाओ
साईराम कृष्णा श्री हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा श्री हरे कृष्णा गोविंद गोपाल कृष्णा कृष्णा गोविंद गोपाल कृष्णा 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 श्री हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा श्री हरे कृष्णा नंद मुकुंद गोविंद नवनीत चोरा गोपाल नंद मुकुंद गोविंद नवनीत चोरा गोपाल गोविंद गोपाल गोकुल नंदन गोपाल गोविंद गोपाल गोकुल नंदन गोपाल कृष्णा श्री हरे कृष्णा 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 गोविंद गोपाल कृष्णा कृष्णा गोविंद गोपाल कृष्णा 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 श्री हरे कृष्णा नंद मुकुंद गोविंद नवनीत चोरा गोपाल नंद मुकुंद गोविंद नवनीत चोरा गोपाल गोविंद गोपाल गोकुल नंदन गोपाल गोविंद गोपाल गोकुल नंदन गोपाल कृष्णा श्री हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा श्री हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा श्री हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा श्री हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा श्री हरे कृष्णा
Saida Managanti, you can render your bhajan.
Can I? Okay.
Yeah.
Ram
रामचंद्र प्रभु रघुवंश रामा रामचंद्र प्रभु रघुवंश रामा सीतापते जय जानकी रामा सीतापते जय जानकी रामा रामचंद्र प्रभु रघुवंश रामा सीतापते जय जानकी रामा अहल्योद्धारक सगुणाभिरामा अहल्योद्धारक सगुणाभिरामा रावण संहार कोदंड रामा रावण संहार कोदंड रामा अयोध्या रामा पटाभिरामा अयोध्या रामा पटाभिरामा नव नव कोमल श्री साई रामा नव नव कोमल श्री साई रामा सीतापते जय जानकी रामा सीतापते जय जानकी रामा रामचंद्र प्रभु रघुवंश रामा सीतापते जय जानकी रामा अहल्योद्धारक सगुणाभिरामा रावण संहार कोदंड रामा अयोध्या रामा पटाभिरामा नव नव कोमल श्री साई रामा सीतापते जय जानकी रामा सीतापते जय जानकी रामा रामचंद्र प्रभु रघुवंश रामा साई राम।
ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वर साईश्वरा ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वर साईश्वरा दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा साई दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा साई राम साई राम साई राम साई राम ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वर साईश्वरा दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा परम दयाला पाप विनाशा परम दयाला पाप विनाशा रक्ष करो साईश्वरा दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा साईश्वरा ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा साईश्वरा दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा साई दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा साई राम साई राम साई राम साई राम ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा साईश्वरा दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा परम दयाला पाप विनाशा हे परम दयाला पाप विनाशा रक्ष करो साईश्वरा दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा साई दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वर साईश्वर दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा।
अम्ब शंकरी परमेश्वरी शशिशेखरी अम्बा। अम्ब शंकरी परमेश्वरी शशिशेखरी अम्बा। सर्वेश्वरी जगदीश्वरी माहेश्वरी अम्बा। सर्वेश्वरी जगदीश्वरी माहेश्वरी अम्बा। अम्ब सुन्दरी गुणमञ्जरी शिवशङ्करी अम्बा। अम्ब सुन्दरी गुणमञ्जरी शिवशङ्करी अम्बा। कादम्बरी श्वेताम्बरी हरिसोदरी अम्बा। कादम्बरी श्वेताम्बरी हरिसोदरी अम्बा। अम्ब शंकरी परमेश्वरी शशिशेखरी अम्बा। सर्वेश्वरी जगदीश्वरी माहेश्वरी अम्बा। अम्ब सुन्दरी गुणमञ्जरी शिवशङ्करी अम्बा। कादम्बरी श्वेताम्बरी हरिसोदरी अम्बा। कादम्बरी श्वेताम्बरी हरिसोदरी अम्बा। अम्ब शंकरी परमेश्वरी शशिशेखरी अम्बा।
Sairam, Nitish, you can render your bhajan.
Yeah, Sairam brother.
Sairam.
हे ब्रह्मा विष्णु साईश्वर। हे ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वर साईश्वर। दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वर। दया करो परमेश्वर। साई राम साई राम साई राम साई राम। परम दयाला पाप विनाशा परम दयाला पाप विनाशा। रक्ष करो साईश्वरा। रक्ष करो साईश्वरा। Yeah. Sairam. Yeah.
Sairam, we can
हे
hear.
ब्रह्मा विश्वेश्वर साईश्वर। दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वर। साई राम साई राम साई राम साई राम। परम दयाला पाप विनाशा परम दयाला पाप विनाशा। रक्ष करो साईश्वरा। रक्ष करो साईश्वरा। दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा। दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा। हे ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वर साईश्वर। दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा। Shivaya Namah Shiva Shivaya Namah Shiva Shivaya Namo Namah Shiva
Shivaya Namah Shiva Shivaya Namah Shiva Shivaya Namo Namah Shivaya.
Shivaya Namah Shiva Shivaya Namah Shiva
Shivaya Namah Shiva Shivaya Namah Shiva.
Shivaya Namo Namah Shivaya
Shivaya Namo Namah Shivaya.
Shivaya Namo Namah Shivaya
Shivaya Namo Namah Shivaya.
Shivaya Namah Shiva Shivaya Namah Shiva Shivaya Namo Namah Shivaya
Shivaya Namah Shiva Shivaya Namah Shiva Shivaya Namo Namah Shivaya.
Shivaya Namah Shiva Shivaya Namah Shiva
Shivaya Namah Shiva Shivaya Namah Shiva.
Shivaya Namo Namah Shivaya
Shivaya Namo Namah Shivaya.
Shivaya Namo Namah Shivaya
Shivaya Namo Namah Shivaya. Shivaya Namah Shiva Shivaya Namah Shiva. Shivaya Namo Namah Shivaya. Gurudeva Sharanam Deva. Gurudeva Sharanam Deva. Pahi Prabho Sharanam Deva. Pahi Prabho Sharanam Deva. Gurudeva Sharanam Deva. Gurudeva Sharanam Deva. Sundara Rupa Sri Sai Sharanam Sharanam Sadgurudeva. Sharanam Sharanam Sadgurudeva. Gurudeva Sharanam Deva. Gurudeva Sharanam Deva. Pahi Prabho Sharanam Deva. Pahi Prabho Sharanam Deva. Gurudeva Sharanam Deva. Deva Sharanam Deva. Sundara Rupa Sri Sai Deva. Sri Sai Deva. Sri Sai Deva. Sundara Rupa Sri Sai Deva. Sundara Rupa Sri Sai Deva. Sharanam Sharanam Sadgurudeva. Sharanam Sharanam Sadgurudeva. Gurudeva Sharanam Deva.
When me Sai Rama, when me Sai Rama, when me Sai Rama, when me Sai Rama, Ase mi mention Jardin, donde floresca Dharma Shanti Prema. Haste mi mention Jardin, donde floresca Dharma Shanti Prema. When Shiva Satya Sai Baila, when Shiva Satya Sai Baila, bailame corazón, 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 tu cósmica danza, bailame corazón, tu cósmica danza. When me Sai Rama, Then mi Sai Rama. Haste mi mention Jarden, donde floresca Dharma Shanti Prema. Then Shiva Satya Sai baila me corazón, 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 baila me corazón. Bailame corazón, bailame corazón, bailame corazón, tu cósmica danza. Bailame corazón, tu cósmica danza. Ven mi Sai Rama.
जगत्पालना जगन्मोहना जगत्पालना जगन्मोहना सुंदर साई गोपालना सुंदर साई गोपालना मुनिजन सेवित मधुसूदना मुनिजन सेवित मधुसूदना जगत्पालना जगन्मोहना जगत्पालना जगन्मोहना केशवा गोविंद जनार्दन केशवा गोविंद जनार्दन श्रीधर दामोदर श्रीधर दामोदर अच्युता अच्युता नारायण श्री साई कृष्ण नारायण श्री साई कृष्ण नारायण श्री साई कृष्ण नारायण श्री साई कृष्ण नारायण मुनिजन सेवित मधुसूदन मुनिजन सेवित मधुसूदन जगत्पालन जगन्मोहन जगत्पालन जगन्मोहन सुंदर साई गोपालना मुनिजन सेवित मधुसूदन मुनिजन सेवित मधुसूदन जगत्पालना जगन्मोहना केशवा गोविंद जनार्दन श्रीधरा माधव दामोदर अच्युता नारायण श्री साई देवा नारायण श्री साई कृष्ण नारायण मुनिजन सेवित मधुसूदन मुनिजन सेवित मधुसूदन जगत्पालना जगन्मोहना
Karthik, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you, Auntie Sairam.
Okay, Sairam. राघव सुंदर राम रघुवर राघव सुंदर राम रघुवर परम पावना जगवंदन परम पावना हे जगवन्दन राघव सुन्दर राम रघुवर राघव सुन्दर राम रघुवर पतितो दारण भक्त परायण पतितो दारण भक्त परायण रावण मर्दन विघ्न भंजन रावण विघ्न भंजन पतिपुरीश्वर साई नारायण पतिपुरीश्वर साई नारायण राघव सुन्दर राम रघुवर राघव सुन्दर राम रघुवर परम पावना हे जगवन्दन परम पावना हे जगवन्दन राघव सुन्दर राम रघुवर राघव सुन्दर राम रघुवर पतितो दारण भक्त परायण पतितो दारण भक्त परायण रावण मर्दन विघ्न भंजन रावण मर्दन विघ्न भंजन पतिपुरीश्वर साई नारायण पतिपुरीश्वर साई नारायण राघव सुन्दर राम रघुवर
प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम 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 श्री राम 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 भव समुद्र सुखद नाव एक राम भव समुद्र सुखद नाव एक शांति सुख निदान दिव्य राम नाम परम शांति सुख निदान दिव्य राम निराधार को आधार एक राम नाम निराधार को आधार एक राम माता पिता बंधु सखा सब राम माता पिता बंधु सखा सब भक्त जनर जीवन धन एक राम
ಆಂಜನೇಯ ವೀರ ಹನುಮಂತ ಶೂರ ವಾಯುಕುಮಾರ ವಾನರ ವೀರ ಆಂಜನೇಯ ವೀರ ಹನುಮಂತ ಶೂರ ವಾಯುಕುಮಾರ ವಾನರ ವೀರ ಶ್ರೀರಾಮ್ ಜಯ ರಾಮ್ ಸೀತಾರಾಮ್ ಜಯ ರಾಧೆ ಶ್ಯಾಮ್ ಶ್ರೀರಾಮ್ ಜಯ ರಾಮ್ ಸೀತಾರಾಮ್ ಜಯ ರಾಧೆ ಶ್ಯಾಮ್ ಶ್ರೀರಾಮ್ ಜಯ ರಾಮ್ ಸೀತಾರಾಮ್ ಜಯ ರಾಧೆ ಶ್ಯಾಮ್ श्रीराम जय राम सीताराम जय साई राम आंजनेय वीरा हनुमंत शूर वायुकुमार वानर वीरा आंजनेय वीरा हनुमंत शूर वायुकुमार वानर वीरा श्रीराम जय राम सीताराम जय राधे श्याम श्रीराम जय राम सीताराम जय राधे श्याम श्रीराम जय राम सीताराम जय राधे श्याम श्रीराम जय राम सीताराम जय साई राम आंजनेय वीरा हनुमंत शूरा
सुब्रह्मण्यं सुब्रह्मण्यं षण्मुखनादा सुब्रह्मण्यं 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 साईनादा सुब्रह्मण्यं शिव 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 सुब्रह्मण्यं हर 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 सुब्रह्मण्यं शिव शिव हर हर सुब्रह्मण्यं हर हर शिव शिव सुब्रह्मण्यं शिव शरवण भव सुब्रह्मण्यं गुरु शरवण भव सुब्रह्मण्यं शिव शिव हर हर सुब्रह्मण्यं हर हर शिव शिव सुब्रह्मण्यं 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 षण्मुखनादा सुब्रह्मण्यं 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 साईनादा सुब्रह्मण्यं 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 साईनादा सुब्रह्मण्यं 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 षण्मुखनादा सुब्रह्मण्यं 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 साईनादा सुब्रह्मण्यं
ओम तत्सत् श्री नारायण तु पुरुषोत्तम गुरु तु सिद्धपुत्र तु स्कंद विनायक सविता पावक तु सविता पावक तु ब्रह्मस्य तु यहोवा शक्ति तु येषु पिता प्रभु तु रुद्र विष्णु तु राम कृष्ण तु रहीमताऊ तु रहीमताऊ तु वासुदेव गो विश्वरूप तु चिदानंद हरितु अद्वितीय तु अकाल निर्भय आत्मलिंग शिव तु आत्मलिंग शिव तु परमात्मलिंग शिव तु
असतो मा सद्गमया तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमया मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमया ओम शांति शांति शांति
Sai Rama, thought for the day from Prashanti Noyam. People talk about the new year, but do not care to develop new feelings and new attitudes. They must develop new ideas and new enthusiasm. If they are all the time depressed, when will they learn to express the joy of good living? They must exude happiness. That is the mark of the divine within. Happiness is union with God. God is eternal bliss. Get rid of your evil tendencies and fill your hearts with the love of God. You will become one with God. I'm ready to give you all the happiness. Are you prepared to receive what I wish to offer? Banish all worries. They are temporary like passing clouds. Do not allow anyone, whether it is the father, the mother, or the preceptor, to come between you and your duty to God. This is the lesson taught by Prahalada, Bharata, and Emperor Bali. Their allegiance to the Lord transcended all other obligations. God takes care of such devotees. Surrender yourself to God and dedicate yourself to the service of mankind. You have my blessings. Foster love and serve society. Baba. Sai Rama. Today we have with us Dr. Vamshi Jaluri. We'll be giving a brief introduction on him before handing on the mic over to him. So first, I'll be reading a brief description, brief bio on him. Dr. Vamshi Jaluri was born in Hyderabad, India in 1969. His father, Dr. J.B. Ramana Rao, was a professor of zoology at Osmania University and served as a member of the Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Learning's Academic Council in the 1980s. His mother was the legendary multilingual cine actress Jamuna, who returned to Swami just a few months ago after a life lived with joy and incredible accomplishments, including staging the play Sri Krishna Tula Bharamu at Swami's birthday celebrations in 1986. Vamshi is a professor of media studies at the University of San Francisco and is a writer, novelist, and columnist. His books include three novels, including The Mythologist, Penguin, India 2010, and The Kishkinda Chronicles, a trilogy in progress inspired by Hanuman, and the critically acclaimed Bollywood Nation, A History of Modern India Through Cinema. His most recent book is Rearming Hinduism, a best-selling civilization manifesto, which is about to come out in a new edition in 2024. He also writes regularly about Hinduism, culture, and politics in American and Indian publications, including The American Mind, Indian Express, First Post, The Print, and American Kahani. He is also writing a memoir about Swami and his family entitled The Guru Within, and will share some of his experience in his talk today. Now I'd like to virtually hand over the mic to Brother Vamshi Jaluri. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, brother.
Sairam, Sister Lakshmi, Sairam, brother, Sairam to the Kansas City Swami Satsang. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Sarva Prachodayat. Jai Sairam. The thing about Swami is you stick to him hardest when you need him hardest. So I am very happy to join us and in this gathering today on New Year's morning for us here in Pune and New Year's Eve in the US. So I'm here on sabbatical, and I think my sister will also join us shortly on Zoom from Hyderabad, so that she can also share some experiences.
Sure, brother. We are looking forward to hear from her also. It's a bonus for us. Thank you so much, Sai Ram. Please proceed.
So I think I'll start in the most straightforward way possible, because just as I joined, you were reading the quote from Swami about the meaning of New Year and the significance of New Year. Well, as an academician, as a student of culture, I always encourage my students to say, what is a New Year? I mean, who's New Year? I mean, now the modern world follows a particular, calendar, and we call this January 1st and the New Year, and we give the New Year a name, 2024, since a particular historical event. But then there are so many New Years, right? Ugadi is one New Year. Then some people will celebrate Sankranti. There is a Persian New Year. There's so many different ways that human beings have been celebrating joyously our connection to nature, a sense of renewal, a sense of rebirth. Now, by coincidence or divine plan or Swami Leela, probably the last one, my sense of rebirth story, in a sense, or New Year story, actually does begin almost on a New Year day. And I'm trying to do the math here, but okay, this was one day before New Year's Day, 1987. That is when Swami grabbed me, let us say. Swami grabbed me and took me on a path, which now I'm convinced is not a single lifetime or even a single generation path. You know, when people say our pursuit of dharma and ultimately moksha is something that takes place over many janmas, many lifetimes, you know, the modern mind sometimes makes us question it. I have a slightly different take on it. I think there's a very simple, accurate way of understanding this process of our yearning towards God, our yearning towards reunion with Swami, towards moksha. It is a multi-generational project. Okay? I am doing some research and writing the last few years on generational change, what it means to be a civilization, what is the duty of generations, one generation to the other, particularly the role of media in disrupting intergenerational continuity, in affecting intergenerational harmony, in breaking the ties of communication that exist. And this happens to a certain extent every generation. Okay, I think it happened when I was in my 20s and my parents were in their, 50s, 60s. And now I'm, I guess, in the generation of being a parent, and then my son and my nephew and my friends' children were all in, their teens or even smaller. So at this time, we are living in a certain kind of a media universe where 30, 40 years ago, parents and children maybe sat down and saw the same movie or show or program on television. But now people can be sitting in the same room and everybody's got a different phone in their hand. They're looking at something else. So this is a very fascinating sociological and cultural question for me from an academic point of view. How do generations continue to survive together? And then there is a bigger question, which is the Swami path question. How do we proceed, not just as individuals, because we are not individuals. Love all, serve all, means this all is always in us. We are always in the all. Okay, that is Swami's love. Because normally as human beings with our egos and limitations, we always think I'm an individual, I'm a body, and there is another person. And how do I transact a relationship? Whether it's parents or friends or teachers or employees or employers. No, Swami is love embodied, love amassed, love beyond body, love beyond space time. Chimalo Brahmalo. That is Swami. So I hope my academic digressions aren't getting in the way, but so I wanted to underscore how I'm seeing that beautiful moment on this New Year's morning, December 31st, 1986. Early morning, it was very dark. Dharmavaram station, which చాలా మంది పెద్దవాళ్ళకి కొంచెం గుర్తుంటుందేమో ఆ రోజుల్లో, there was no Puttaparthi station yet. So even in 1986, when I was in 12th grade, if you went to Puttaparthi, you had to wake up at 2 or 3 a.m. when the train stopped very briefly in Dharmavaram and jump off the train before it started again. So that was the day I first went to Puttaparthi. That was the day Swami gave us darshan, sambhashan, sparshan, interview, everything. Swami gave me, I was going to say meaning of life, but Swami gave me the path, the beginning of a path to understanding life better in so many different dimensions, one of which is academic, the path I'm on today professionally as a social scientist, and understanding that the pursuit of moksha is a multi-generational process, but also now using that lens to think back on this association with Swami, which is not a solo thing. Okay? This is a story of at least of 3 generations at the very least, and how all of this is interconnected. So there is my father and mother's generation. They were also of Swami's generation. So that is one. Then there is my generation, and then there is a generation that has come after us. So this was sort of the perspective with which I wrote my memoir called The Guru Within. So I'll give a little background on that. So I wrote this book around 2012. No, I started writing April 2011, soon after Swami left his physical form, because it was such a jolt. On the one hand, it was like, Swami, where have you gone? How? I mean, this is so delusional that we are even feeling sad, considering we never saw you as just a human. I mean, you are Swami. But at the same time, there was that change. We had to deal with change. So 2011, Swami left his form. 2014, November, my father went back to Swami. And just this year, January 27th, while I was on the plane from San Francisco to Hyderabad, I got a message from my sister that after, being in a very, very critical state for a few days, our mother also returned to Swami. So now Swami, my parents, subject of a memoir I tried to write a few years ago. Someday I'll get back to it. I'll complete it. I think Swami wants me to live life a little more and walk the path a little more and gain the insights and company and blessings of satsangs such as this before I am worthy enough to, I think, share my memories in print. But clearly, Swami has found me worthy enough to at least share some things today. So I am now taking us back to that morning. I think I left us all in the dark a little bit. It was cold and very dark in Dharmavaram station. I am a reluctant teenager wondering what my parents are doing, taking me to this tiny village in the middle of nowhere, and why all these photos are now appearing in our house of, this tall life-size person. Now, so I'm a bewildered teenager. And it's December 31st, 1986. I'm about to see Swami for the very first time, sitting on the sands in front of Prashanti Mandir. So I will request you to hold the thought and give you a little backstory. I think I'm going like a Christopher Nolan movie now, instead of a straightforward talk. So bear with me. I'm going to a flashback. So December 31st, 1986 was the day my story really with Swami began. Swami made me his devotee that morning. But that was not the first time my family saw Swami. Okay. So there is a slight backstory. In 1975 or 76, I think, when Shivam was opened in Hyderabad, my parents were invited, so they went. So I was about 6, 7 years old at that time. And I remember very vaguely that, we went there, there's a huge crowd. And I remember the shape of the Shivalingam in the night. And we all sat in the bhajan. And afterwards, we were taken inside. And Swami, I think, came down the stairs and he spoke to all of us. He let us take Pada Namaskaram, and I think he gave Vibhuti. And I don't really remember what happened in that first encounter in 1976. Except that I know my parents were very respectful and Swami was very Swami. He was loving and gracious. Later, I heard from my parents that the conversation went something like this. Swami told my father, నీకు అంతగా రావాలని లేదు కదూ, నువ్వు రాఘవేంద్ర స్వామికి పూజ చేస్తావు కదా, పర్వాలేదు అంతా ఒకటే, something like that, So Swami told my father, oh, you worship Raghavendra Swami, you were perhaps a little reluctant about coming to see Baba, but it's okay, it's all same, But anyway, so that is like the teaser, let us say. It happens in 1976. And then after that, there's no one's really thinking about it or talking about having met Swami. Life continues to happen. Then around 1979, 1980, I think around the time my sister was born, um, um, you know, all these Swami signs started coming again and again. In 1980, I somehow got an interest in doing magic. Okay. And my mother was very, very supportive of that. She wanted to encourage me to do magic shows because her father, my Tata Garu, Nippani Srinivasrao Garu, Sinappa Tata, as we used to call him, was a stage magician. So those days, there was only one name, probably even now in Andhra Pradesh and Telugu states, a legendary name in the magic world, and Professor B.V. Pattabhiram Garu. So he very kindly accepted to be my magic guru, and he started, giving us lessons. And of course, Professor Pattabhiram was a big, big devotee of Swamis. So there was that connection where, on the one hand, uh, Professor Pattabhiram was even doing a TV show. This was in 1980, a documentary series exposing, like confidence men, con men who sort of pretend to do miracles or tricks, to cheat people and things like that. So people used to say, oh, but what about that, God man? And he would say, no. I mean, there is the real thing, and then there are people who do tricks to misuse people, and he would say that. So it was today, I guess, psychologists would call that cognitive dissonance or something like that, or it was a way of testing or challenging beliefs. Okay. So here you had a very rational man committed to social change and progressivism, and honest enough to call out uh, hoaxes where there were hoaxes, but also having empirically verified by going to Puttaparthi with this, challenge to himself that he would expose Baba. But going there and being with Swami for so many days and just recognizing what is really happening there. It's beyond whatever expectation or presumption we go there for the first time with. I think some of us get that message quickly. For some of us, it takes time and more experiences. But so Professor Pattabhiram, my magic mentor, was a devotee of Swami. Now, the next Swami sort of teaser that came my way, in 1981, my mother and I traveled to the United States for a holiday. I was, I think, 6th to 7th class. That was a summer holiday year. And we traveled all over. We did road trips. One uncle drove us from Florida to Boston, and then we went to the West Coast. And in Sunnyvale, California, my mother's cousin, Munni auntie, Saraswati auntie, and Dr. Satyanarayana used to live there. We go to their house, and it is a total Swami house. There is a big sofa there for Swami. There are photos. There's vibhuti and honey coming out of all these photos. And they said Sai Ram. They had a very, very, distinct manner. And of course, they also had the traditional or older Sampradaya gods, Venkateswar Swami, Ganesha, everyone. But, they introduced us to the world of Swami as they drove me and my mother from Sunnyvale, California to Grand Canyon, Arizona and back. So that was a very, very memorable time for me. And, my mother, and this is my mother's oldest, dearest friend, Muni auntie, the cousin's childhood friends. So my mother is pushing back in a playful way, okay, because they're sisters. She's like, hey, into Baba Baba and Tavu, Ivanni ela jarutundi. They were having in a very sweet and friendly way. And I was a 12-year-old sitting in the back seat. I'm trying to remember what little electronic game I was playing then. Not yet Pac-Man. Anyway, so the elders are all talking. So Swami's stories, so many stories about Swami kind of became a part of our consciousness. And Then we go back to India, the 1980s. My mother's still acting in some movies. I think then slowly by 82, 83, she slowly comes, her film acting sort of winds down. Then she joins politics. She's campaigning. And my father is, I think, about to retire. And then something starts to happen in the backdrop, again, in the adult world. I'm in my own world, worrying whether, I'll do well in my exams or what I'll do with life after I finish school. Then around 1983, no, mid 80s, I would say, my father started to go on tour, like he was a professor. Sometimes he would go to Tirupati or to Dehradun somewhere to give lectures or invigilate exams. He started going to Puttaparthi. Okay? And he would say, and we all wondered, what is in Puttaparthi? It's a village and, Baba is there. And anyway, so he started going there because he was, I think, put on the committee to help start the biology department when Swami was setting up the university. So my father goes there a couple of times. Then one day he comes and tells me, it's a very beautiful place. There's no place like this. If there is any hope for India, if there's any hope for the future of the world, it is that place. And I said, and it was nice to hear, something like that. There was a place with hope. I said, what do you mean? I said, no, just the institution, the cleanliness, the kindness and decency and dignity with which everyone operated and all that. And he didn't really say anything about Swami. I mean, in the sense like, yeah, I mean, that's there, this is a great place. Then he goes and comes 2-3 times. Then suddenly, probably this was early 1986, he comes and tells me, he's God. So again, remember the generational, multi-generational perspective I mentioned earlier. So end of the day, I think self-inquiry, self-study, all of these are very important. But the role of elders, the role of generational wisdom, okay, the creativity and insight and freshness and courage with which youngsters tell us something, and the wisdom and deep experience with which our elders tell us something, that they matter. And wisdom lies in recognizing that sometimes these things matter. So my father said, he is God. He is not, like a teacher, nothing. He is God, And my father, remember, he already saw Swami once in 1976, and he was from a very, devout family. He did pujas every day and all these things. He said, he's the real thing. And, I started getting curious. I think I started reading a little bit. And then in September 1986, he took my mother to Puttaparthi. And I think for my mother, that was like an incredible experience. She spent 3 days, I think, with Swami. And when she came back, just what was in my mother's voice and presence, I never saw that before. My mother was exuding so much peace, so much peace. And then she brought the big life-size picture of Swami that was kept in our living room in Hyderabad. Then from that point onwards, we became a Swami household. Every Thursday, we did bhajans. Then again, I think a couple of months later, Swami invited my mother to stage her play Sri Krishna Dulabaram in Puttaparthi on his birthday, on Swami's birthday. So November 23rd, I think they went, and she says, I mean, it was like a huge event. And my mother played the role of Satyabhama, her most famous movie role, perhaps. And then, so they all went and came. And then Swami gave her another assignment now. He said, January 1st week, there's a lot of conferences and activities taking place. And Swami's students, the high school students in the school, will do a play. I think of Krishna Lilalu or Childhood Krishna, some songs and all that. You direct them. So again, December, around this time, my mother, father, sister, who was then very, very small, various family members all get in cars and go to Puttaparthi. Now, I am in a bit of a dilemma because what happened is somehow seeing my father and mother, saying Swami is God, I was actually not very skeptical, or I wasn't the rebellious teenager or anything yet. I just said, okay, God, I'm happy that we have a God protecting us. I will offer my namaskar. But my parents were saying, you have to come. Swami will, see you. You're in 12th class. It's very important to take Swami's blessings. And I was kind of, reluctant a little bit. I mean, as people say, I was in my comfort zone. I was stuck in my comfort zone. I was like, oh my God, if my parents were taking me to Bangalore or Bombay or some, big city, that would be cool. What am I going to do in an ashram? What am I going to do in a village? I was reluctant, but somehow, my father kind of, kept pushing till I ran out of excuses. So December 30, 1986, we started. December 31st morning, we get down at Dharmavaram station, and, that long drive, and those days in India, the roads were fairly small, and as it's such a haunting experience, you hardly see any traffic, but suddenly your car's headlights will illuminate some giant blob coming towards you in the distance or going in. And I don't know if anyone remembers this. I don't know if such a sight still exists, but in the villages, you have the bullock carts loaded with huge stacks of hay. So, seeing all this, and then slowly, every few minutes, my father would say, Sai Ram, and, I would say, what's he saying Sai Ram to? I look out of the window and I see the arches or the welcome sign or a photo of Swami's on the road. And then we enter the ashram. And I remember that mood, that feeling. As soon as you enter, the whole place feels like just one living entity, I think the only other time I felt that like a whole place was sort of alive and conscious, maybe not with the same intensity. I think one time when I went to visit Hawaii, when you see that beautiful landscape, the hills and trees and waterfalls. And so this is Swami's home. So and the car goes into Swami's home, and then, suddenly, I don't know, it's this feeling like, hey, I'm home, Anyway, so we go in, and then it was very exciting. It was like almost like a picnic, because my mother, my aunt, so many people were there, they were all busy with rehearsals. Then we get ready, we go and sit in the morning. And then early morning, as the sun is rising, Swami starts to come. He comes from, if I'm sitting like this, Prashanti Mandiram is here, sand here. Swami comes from the right. I think he stops and talks to my mother and sister on the lady's side. Then he comes, as he's coming towards me, he kind of starts saying, Vamsi Krishna Yavaru, who is Vamsi Krishna? And, I raise my hand. Then he comes and immediately does this, gives me vibhuti. And I'm kind of all excited, wondering what's going on. Then he starts to turn away, and then he says, come for the interview. So then me, my father, my uncle, some other people we all go for the interview. And then Swami says, Inkavali, what do you want? Now my mother had trained me. She said, Swami Adutar Inkavali. So when he asks you what you want, don't say, I want a chain or ring or something. Just say, Chaduvi Vandi Swami. Just give me a learning, give me a knowledge. So when Swami said, what do you want in the interview room? I said, Swami, I want knowledge. And I don't know if anyone wants to take a guess or what Swami said. Okay. Before I tell you what Swami said, I had to tell you what somebody else said in the interview room. Somebody was sitting there, and because I said knowledge, he kind of found it funny, and he kind of said, somebody kind of giggled or laughed at my naivete, I suppose. Anyway, so that's what happened. Somebody laughed. I still remember that, maybe at my earnestness. But Swami took me seriously. Okay. I'm mentioning this because, sometimes we miss out on all these nuances that are taking place. I don't know who the other people in the room were, but at that moment, for whatever reason, because everything in the universe is happening according to Swami's plan, according to his grand mastery of time, past, present, future. So that incredible blessing or privilege of having these memories, these moments in this life journey when we were there, what exactly happened. Everything was a lesson there. So somebody sort of didn't take me seriously, some uncle, but Swami took me at face value. And you know what he says? He says, knowledge is already there. You're just not using it. And, and now I realize in retrospect, now because I analyze communication for a living, I realize it was masterful what Swami did. Okay? Every little thing, every word, every gesture, every interaction of his was masterful, is masterful, And so he told me that. And then he told me to come closer. He waved this hand like this, and he presented me with this watch. And then he told me to spell watch and said, Swami, W-A-T-C-H. The moment I said W, he said, watch your words, watch your actions, watch your thought, watch your character, watch your heart. And to this day, when I put on my watch, I say that to myself. I hope I practice it. I don't know how well I practice it, but every day. So Swami's teaching continues with me. So, yeah, so that was our first trip to Puttaparthi. And let me just pause. I wonder if my sister has been able to join because she was also there. And excuse me, 1 second.
Sure, brother.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry, I think she's not yet here, but so that was my first sort of experience with Swami. So we were there in Prashanti Nilayam for, I think, almost 10 days. And then we came back and now it is January 1987. I'm 2 months away from my 12th class exams. And the question of what I'm going to do with my life after college is getting more and more urgent. And what am I telling my elders and friends? I'm telling everybody I'm going to become an engineer because everybody you know is an engineer. What do you do? I'm signed up for brilliant tutorials and Agarwal classes, and I'm working on the plan that miraculously suddenly I'm going to get very, very smart at math and trigonometry, which was particularly annoying for me, calculus, all the rest, and I was going to get into engineering. And now I will just highlight a few moments over the years, and then I would like to leave it open for questions and more freewheeling conversation as well. So what happened then is very, very fascinating because I go back with full of enthusiasm because of Swami's tremendous grace and blessings to me. And so I say somehow I'm going to work hard, study, and do well in my exams. And I try to do it, but somehow I'm still not getting it. I'm barely passing. One time I passed physics, I failed chemistry. One time I passed chemistry, I failed physics. Somehow I'm struggling and going along. March, I have my 12th class final exams. Somehow I managed to pass. I actually get even in the 50% or 60%. And the day the results come is, I think, May 27, 28. I'm in Hyderabad because I'm writing all these entrance exams. My mother, father, and sister are in Whitefield. Remember, in the summers, Swami used to go to the ashram there in Bangalore. And Swami is celebrating my sister's birthday. Okay? So I think that's one of her most profound memories. She's 7 or 8 years old, and Swami gets a eggless cake made. He holds her hand and cuts it, and they're all celebrating. And I'm in Hyderabad. And then my mother passes on the good news because Swami is asking, what's happening with my studies. And my mother tells Swami, Swami, pass a year. Vamsi has passed the 12th class exam. And what does he want to do? Swami asks, he says he'll study engineering. And Swami says, okay, Swami will educate him. Swami will, give him a seat in engineering college. And like when my mother tells me that, I'm like, wow. As we say these days, where did that come from? I was astounded. And after that, things happened fairly quickly over the next 2 to 3 months. Swami pretty much adopted me as his student. And that's what my parents told me. Look, you're a student. You may not be studying in Puttaparthi, but he has decided you are a student. And I was being offered admission in a college where one of Swami's devotees was like the builder of the college, something like that. And it was all moving along. But I have to give a little bit of the human limitation context here, okay? Or human quirk, human limitation, call it what you will. I had no idea. I did not stop to consider whether I was going to be able to study engineering, whether I had it in me to become an engineer, or whether I even wanted to be an engineer, or whether I was just saying it because all the kids were saying it. What I really wanted to do, frankly, was to study literature because I liked writing, and I was, already writing, for my school magazine and some newspapers and things. And all my friends told me I should become a writer. So I was also applying. I was taking engineering entrance exams, obviously not getting in. I was also applying, to Loyola College and St. Stephen's, whatever, the famous arts colleges. And Swami was lining this enormous blessing up for me. So for several months, I floundered, what to do. But finally, I think, my father said, look, this is what is in front of you. If you go into literature, you will have to become a teacher. There's not much else. I mean, maybe you'll become a famous writer, but your day job, you'll probably be a teacher. Whereas if you want a good salary and a good life and everything, you know, you have to become an engineer and probably do an MBA. That's how the world is. So everything considered, I said, okay, I'm going to do engineering. So October 1987, we go to Puttaparthi. Swami is celebrating the Dashara Yagnam grandly. We take Swami's blessings. My father takes me to Bangalore, sets me up in the hostel, and every few hours he's yelling at me, he's pampering me, he's taking me to Brigade Road to have veggie burgers or whatever. That was still the beginning of fast food culture in India. But he's also shouting at me because I'm remarkably unprepared for college or hostel life. And now in retrospect, I realize, poor man, how flustered he must have been, because I was simply, just like another kid who's been at home his whole life and is eager to go and have an adventure in college, but has not really thought it through. So anyway, I go to Bangalore, I join the hostel, and reality hits hard. Hostel life is miserable. It's very, very tough. There's culture shock. I'm dealing with all sorts of different people from different parts of the country, and there's a lot of politics and all sorts of things which we're not used to. And my mother is dutifully going and telling Swami is having a tough time, this and that. And then you know what Swami tells my mother? Swami will give him friends. Don't worry. Tell him not to worry. And believe it or not, the 4 or 5 of us who became friends in the dorm, to this day, we have stayed very, very good friends. And so, Swami made it happen. Somehow first year I managed to pass. And by second year, I was in a real mess. I was barely able to keep up with anything. I mean, some subjects I liked 1 or 2 papers, but, many of you are engineers, so you know how tough it is. And towards the end of my second year in engineering, in 1986, it was my parents' Shashti Purti. So my father's 60th birthday, Swami told them to come, and he basically performed my mother and father's, second marriage or Shashti Purti celebration in Puttaparthi. It was one of the most beautiful memories of my life. Seeing, and there's a great photo. It's still in there in Hyderabad in my mother's house. Just my mother and father holding their hands like this. Swami is holding their hands together. So, yeah, 1986, this photograph comes into my life, and that photograph is profoundly important for me in my life because Swami, mother, father, Swami. Swami, mother and father in everything, everyone's mother and father. I mean, it is very hard to know Swami in other forms except, through this particular medium of this form we are blessed to experience in our life of, being somebody's children. Anyway, so that Swami photo is up on the wall there. And things start to happen very, very quickly in the months after that. Remember, my mother's in politics at that time. She's getting fed up with it. She's campaigning and all, but she's thinking of just quitting. But Swami says, no, మానే ఎదు రాజకీయాలు మంచివాళ్ళు ఉండాలి మంచివాళ్ళు లేకపోతే ఇంత చెడ్డవాళ్లే ఉంటారు రాజకీయాల్లో. So Swami told my mother, good people like you should be in public life, should be in politics, because otherwise only the bad people will become politicians. What will happen to the country? So my mother stayed on, and then in November 1989, I'm also looking at my mom's picture here. In 1989, she stood for election. She asked Swami, where should I contest from? I remember my mother asked Swami, she said, Swami, can I contest the election from Anantapur, which is the district, the region Puttaparthi is in. She wanted to be the representative, I guess, of Swami's seat. Swami said, ikkadoddu, ikkada aadavallaki manchidi kaadu, ikkadanta bombulu vyavaharam or something, like he kind of, in his very gracious but very practical and intelligent way told my mom, this is a Rayalaseema, this is a, very feudal bomb culture. It's not a place for a lady. And he suggested that she should stand for election from Rajamahendipuram which has a lot of we have ancestral connections, with that part of the state, and it's a seat of learning. So anyway, my mother goes. She's standing for election. She's in some ways, I mean, she's very famous, but also in some ways she's an underdog because, we are not a traditional political or business family. We don't have that kind of machinery. It's just a mom who just happens to be a famous film star and a very devout devotee, Swami. And my dad, a retired professor. Um, they just go there into the big bad world of politics. And this is a backstory that we heard later. Apparently, some of Swami's devotees from that area, like some, a very important family, one of the political families there, came for Swami's darshan, And I believe Swami in his, magisterial way said, ఏమవుతోంది మీ Jamuna elections? And they said, గెలవలేదండి election. So apparently these people told Swami, no, the Jamuna won't win the election. It's very tough. And Swami said, oh, he didn't say it. And I believe the day after the results came and my mom won like by a huge majority of, I don't know, like 80, 90,000 votes or something. Swami walks up to that devotee of his, that Raja or that Zamindar or that person who predicted my mom would lose and said, what happened, Jamuna? And Swami. And then Swami says, that is Swami's seat. So, what can I say? I mean, who he made, just an ordinary family at some level, a bunch of human beings, worried about the future, worried about life, teenagers, parents, arguing with each other, a part of history, a part of a country's destiny, briefly. So when my mother went for the swearing in December 1989, I was there. So I just learned to drive, okay? So I went to Delhi, accompanied her, and I was driving her around. And Swami gave her this beautiful sari to wear to her swearing in. So I was in the visitor gallery and she went and she took the oath. And then I remember she forgot to thank Rajiv Gandhi, who was the leader of her party. Then she went back and, he was very gracious, by the way. Both, Rajiv Gandhi used to be very, very respectful and affectionate and, very, very, he used to honor my mom and my mom was very fond of him. Oh, by the way, so sorry, I got distracted because I was talking about important things like Parliament and all this stuff. But what is happening in this little life of mine where I'm stuck in engineering college and I'm flunking? I have decided somehow secretly, after an enormous dilemma, that I have to quit. And it's not an easy decision because it's not just my parents, but Swami, himself, who I said, I want you to be my student and, gifts me with something, so many people in India or in the world want, an engineering college seat. So, this is also unfolding somehow, and I'm avoiding confronting my parents, avoiding telling my parents. I don't have the courage to tell them. I just tell them, look, I've failed this year. Maybe next year I'll go back, this and that, this and that. But somehow, one of my cousins who was a professor of economics at the time told my father this, that, and then my parents went and told Swami, చదవలేకపోతున్నాడు, health కూడా బాగుండట్లేదు, he's having a tough time in the hostel. He says engineering is not good for him. He wants to study something else and, find his own path as a writer. Swami just said, fine. And then he gave them advice. Swami told my parents, Jamuna, Delhi, so Jamuna, my mother should be in Delhi, doing public work, and my father should be with the children in Hyderabad, educating them. So he said something, one of his pithy statements. Anyway, so those 2 years were very, very tumultuous. in so many ways. India went through a lot of political turmoil. And those 2 years in Delhi, the government fell. There were riots every day. Swami held my family's hands. But at that time, somehow for a long time, I stopped going to Puttaparthi because I was feeling, I told my parents, look, I want to finish my BA, then I'll tell Swami or something like that. So that was 3-4 years of a very complex time for me when I was reading a lot, I was writing. I had a picture of Swami with me, but I was not yet a student of Swami. It's a very strange thing. I don't know. But anyway, so this sort of crescendoed in the summer of 1991 because, the government fell, India went for elections, and my mother was campaigning again. And Rajiv Gandhi came, he spoke in her constituency. Then I think that same night or the next day, he went to Madras. And that is where he was assassinated. And so it was a very traumatic time. I remember my mother and father immediately flew from Rajahmundry. They went to Puttaparthi, I think, or they went to Delhi and then Puttaparthi. And, it was very strange. My mother was telling Rajiv Gandhi, or she was trying to get him to go to Swami and take his blessings, and somehow it did not happen. And from what I heard, Swami was also very, very, saddened, that such a terrible thing happened. Yeah, things start happening very crazy. Now, strangely enough, my mother lost the election. In 1991, everyone was very sure she would win again. But there were a lot of politics, skullduggery, whatnot, sabotage. She loses the election. But now I get admission to study journalism in Delhi. And this is where now Swami starts making me my own person, I guess. My mother is very, very worried about me because she's no longer going to be in Delhi. And she's worried, I already flunked out once in Bangalore. So she's wondering, what should I do? Should I give this guy permission to go and study and build his career in Delhi? Or possibly, clip his wings and say, stay home and do whatever you can in Hyderabad. Those days, Hyderabad was not yet, a happening place like now. It was still a bit sleepy. So she is in a dilemma. And I have to tell a story. Please excuse me for 1 second. I will show you a prop now.
Sure, brother.
So I have to share the story of this book. This was, in a way, my first book. It's just a book of poems, which I wrote while I was in Delhi. And, I don't know, I just opened it. And the line goes, look at me, who am I supposed to be? What sorcerer's looking glass can capture my emptiness? What shrink, what saint can peddle a couch and some ready-to-wear religion to give me a name? So I don't know. I don't have the stamina to read my old indulgent teenage angst poems. But guess who put his hand on this? And not just this, but I guess my life and the multi-generational projects that we are all embarked on in the Swami's blessings. So my book of poems just came out, okay? My mom actually really pushed me, she said, send it to publishers, and Writers Workshop, which was one of the few publishers in India, which did poetry, accepted it. And they brought out this beautiful book. And in May 1991, maybe not May, sorry, March or April, she took this book to Parliament one day, and she was in a meeting with Rajiv Gandhi. She goes and shows it to him, gives it to Rajiv Gandhi and says, Rajiv ji, my son's books, we would like you to release it. And I was shocked. I had no idea my mom was going to do that. But apparently, while this meeting was going on, Rajiv Gandhi is sitting and flipping through my teenage angst poems. Okay. And he takes it home, and that evening we get a call. I remember I answered the phone and they say 10 Janpat. And, it's like, wow, it's like saying this is the White House, And one of his secretaries said, organize the function, and Rajiv ji will be happy to come. And, and in I realized, well, it's such an honor, that, thanks to my mom, the former and perhaps soon to be Prime Minister again of India was going to release my book. And I had this plan in my head. Okay, so I'm going to live in Delhi now. I'm going to become a famous writer, this and that and all that. But obviously everything goes downhill. The government collapses. My book is never released by Rajiv Gandhi. Rajiv Gandhi is assassinated. My mom loses the election. And now this is July 1991. My mom loses the election back in Hyderabad. I get admission to study in Delhi. My mother is wondering what to do. And now we return to the story of this book. So she takes this book to Swami in Puttaparthi. Okay. And meanwhile, I've gone off to Delhi and, to pay the admission, and I'm waiting. I don't know whether my parents will say, forget it, just come back. You can study in Hyderabad next year, or they let me study. And, I got into IMC, which was like the premier journalism program in India, Indian Institute of Mass Communication. And I get a telegram from my father, and I still have the telegram to this day. And interestingly, when I teach media history, one of the classes I teach, I ask my students, have you ever seen a telegram? Obviously, my millennial and Gen Z students have never seen a telegram. I show them the telegram my father sent me from Prashanti Nilayam in 1991. It just says, Swami graciously accepted your book. Stop. Sai Ram. Okay. So the story is, my mother sat in Prashanti Nilayam with a copy of my book with a prayer to Swami, saying, Swami, he is your student. He's now wants to go and study in Delhi on his own. I don't know whether it is safe or not. I need assurance that you are protecting him, you're taking care of him. Please touch this book. If you touch this, I will take it as a sign that Swami is still protecting Vamsi. So my mother is sitting there. Swami comes. She holds it up, hoping he'll touch it. Swami takes the book. Takes it. He just takes it and goes. So Swami made me his author, I guess, in that moment, And then clumsy life, plods on. I managed to do my journalism degree. Then I got to the US. I did my master's in Ohio. Then I went to UMass for my PhD. And, when I was doing my PhD, and this is where I think became a student of Swami in the sense, I actually started to read everything he was saying. Until that point, it was like, Swami is God. If I pray to him, he'll take care of me. That's kind of how it was. But obviously, all his discourses, everything were having an impact here and there. And two things happened in a very profoundly interwoven way those 4 or 5 years I was doing my PhD. One, I really started enjoying education, which I never did before. I loved what I was learning. I think they call it ikigai now, right? In Japanese, when you find something you like to do and you're good at it and it's useful to society, hopefully, and, you can make a bit of a living on it. So all came together. I was reading, I think I can mention the specific books. I remember buying in Puttaparthi in the bookshop, Vidya Vahini and Jnana Vahini, because, I was going to become an educator now after my PhD, like my dad. So I wanted Swami's thoughts on education. So I remember taking Vidya Vahini and reading it. And also there was the internet was just invented, the World Wide Web. And somebody had uploaded Swami's Bhagavad Gita. And there used to be a browser called Netscape. So, you did the whole ritual. I guess, like doing 21 ohms, you had to connect your computer physically to the modem, and it would make this, all the dialing sound. And then this Netscape color page would open up on your screen, and there was Swami's Bhagavad Gita, which I read, and somehow it made me see connections between what I was reading, which was hardcore Marxist philosophy, frankly, and the complete antithesis in a way, which was, normally most people who, especially today, who say they're progressive or egalitarian or socialist or want social justice, or left or whatever, they all say, oh, religion is bad, or particularly Hinduism is bad. It's, all that stuff. But somehow I was seeing this as knowledge, or seeing this as knowledge from the perspective of sitting at Swami's feet. I don't know. I said, I can handle both. Swami wants me to understand both, you know. So somehow I ended up, I think, learning and being very, very happy with my life as a student. And my PhD thesis was on the reception of music television, MTV, in India. And um, I will stop at that moment, with what happened. 1999, I completed my PhD, and my father, mother, all of us went to Swami on Guru Purnima Day. I think Bhimsen Joshi was singing that day. It was a beautiful, beautiful morning. And my father is sitting in the steps, inside the corridor of the Mandiram, because of his university affiliation, I suppose. I was sitting in slightly to the side, and Swami was walking. By now, obviously, the sand was gone. The new enormous hall had come up. Swami was walking. He came, and he sort of came like this. He saw me, and I was like this. I was holding my dissertation, a printout. He kind of saw me, and then he looked away. He had a very pleasant look on his face. He was going that side, but I had this slight feeling that on this day he was not going away. And he comes back like this, and he's looking at me. I lift it up for his blessings. And he says, Swami, in a PhD, puts his hand on my thesis. I close my eyes. I'm holding it like this. And I'm happy he's touched my PhD. And before I know what's happening, he puts his palm on my head and he says, Santosham. Santosh. So I believe that was the last word I heard from Swami. He accepted my PhD, gave me my doctorate, said Santosham. After that, not one interview, not one word, but what can I say? I became a professor, I became a father, and quick postscript, that was 2008 Shivratri. My wife and I were flying from San Francisco. We went straight to Puttaparthi. My father and mother were already there. And so Swami spoke to my mother, and Swami said, my Vamsi and Kodalu, my son and daughter-in-law, are coming, and they want to take Swami's blessings there for Santanam, to have a child. And Swami tells my mother, tell him he's going to have a son this year. And we came, and Swami was in the wheelchair, went it like that. I mean, I could feel that energy that is Swami. Profound, profound Shivratri experience. But again, no word, nothing. But end of the year, we got the sacred good news. And my mother got me these beautiful books from Puttaparthi called Satya Sai Parenting. And so since then, I have been Swami's student. I have been a professor, a student, a writer, a dad, a son, all this stuff, little bit here and there. Yeah, I hope I have shared, useful memories and insights. And I will pause with that and maybe take a few questions or comments as you would like. Saira.
Saira, brother, by any chance your sister is here? Is she?
I don't know what happened, she was not feeling very well. I said, but she said she would at least join the audio.
Oh,
I
okay,
don't
okay.
know.
So, she has Zoom link, right?
Yeah, I sent her the Zoom link. I also called, but I don't know what happened.
Oh, you want
Um,
to, we'll wait for 30 seconds, see whether she is available or not.
And then
Sure. Let me just, I'll message you one more time. 1
Sure,
second.
please.
Yeah, she said she will join in a minute. Yeah.
Sure.
sure, perfect, brother.
Thank you. So in the meanwhile, if anyone wants to ask any question before she joins us, is it okay or we want to wait? What do you suggest, brother?
Oh, I'm happy to take questions. So,
Like
Sure.
Anaganti, Sairaman.
Saira.
Yeah, I just wanted to see that watch. I missed it. Your watch. Even
Oh,
yeah, now I can see it. Yes.
I
Thank
see.
you
So,
very much.
Swami watch.
I was okay.
And yeah, this is actually this ring was given to my father by Swami. And yeah, so there's some amazing stories about this too. I mean, Swami's Leelas, all the fun stuff. There's so much drama that went on around this about this ring throughout the 90s. Um, I think something happened. The stone fell out, and then my father was feeling, and it was lost. So but he would keep the empty ring and keep going. And I think he told, and then my mother kept saying, Adugandi, Adugandi, ask Swami, tell Swami. Finally, Swami himself said, what happened? And my father, I think, said, oh, Swami, the ring. So, no, don't worry. The Swami things never get lost. They come back to Swami only. Then he gave him a new ring. And I mean, so many things happened. Like, I think it was the size was too loose or something. Um, and very briefly, how I remember this story, because my father used to sit in that corridor. A lot of Swami students used to sit there. So there was one small boy, like 8th class maybe. I believe he would keep telling my father, Uncle, మీరు స్వామికి చెప్పండి, ring repair చేయమని చెప్పండి, And this went on and on. And I believe finally, of course, Swami took the ring, he blew on it and gave it back to my father and everything. Then some years later, my father is in Hyderabad. He's getting the car repaired. So he's sitting at the mechanic shop and there's an auto going. Suddenly the auto makes a U-turn, comes back. And the boy who is, the little boy, Swami student, who's a little older now, comes running and says, Uncle, Sairam, children. He comes and he shows a ring. So apparently what happened was one day Swami called that boy and, when he was talking to the students, his students, were studying there, he called this boy and said, I believe he told everybody, see this boy, he's an ideal Swami student. He never comes and says, Swami, I want a ring. But he is all the time praying to Swami to give Ramna Rao uncle a ring. So Swami rewarded him with a ring. And So that was an amazing story my father loved to tell again and again. And believe it or not, 20, 30 decades later, around 2015 or something after my father passed away, this boy turns out to be a very, very respected cultural critic and writer. And we find each other on Twitter. I mean, we were following each other on Twitter. Eventually, he recognized because of my mom. And then, he called me and he said, "Hey, do you know that I have this very strange story with your father?" So, Swami has put friendship rings on so many of us. So it's such a delight discovering these connections.
Thank you for sharing this story. It's very touching.
Hi, Ram. Wow, that was such a wonderful experience. Anyone else has any questions for Brother Wamshi? Please feel free to unmute. So I have a question. So I guess kind of like, in the 2000s or after SWAT, like, kind of like, between like, 2000 to 2011. So have you like ever felt like Swami's presence, like, in the United States, like, of course, not physically, but like, kind of like his omnipresence, like, I would say maybe like, before some Mahasamadhi and after Mahasamadhi,
Dreams.
like in like dreams or in any sort of signs, like psi signs.
Oh, dreams, yes. I have dreams of Swami from time to time, and they're inevitably quite profound. Um, and I think recently, just a few months ago, my sister sent me a picture, that life-size photo of Swami that my mother brought. So this was, I think, about a month or two after our mother returned to Swami. Um, you know, something like a shadow in the shape of a garland, very similar to the garland Swami has behind you. You know, a shadow appeared looking like a mala, like a in that photo, and it was there for days and days. And she sent me the photo. Um, that I think that is something very physical that is happening. And in fact, just this morning, she sent me a picture. One of my mom's dogs. From the time my mother passed away, this doggy, she's a very sweet golden retriever, was very, very attached to my mom. And they were all worried, how is she going to survive my mom's loss? This doggy started going and sleeping under Swami's picture. Yeah. So apparently she never did that before, but somehow so my sister keeps saying, I think this is the proof that Amma is with Swami, because her dog goes and sleeps under Swami's feet. So yeah, so things like that. And one more, a strange connection, so around 2014, 15, my writing started to go in slightly, well, I don't know whether to call it different or ultimately Swami intended direction, which is I started to write about Hinduism. I started writing mainly about the need for accurate representation of Hinduism in the mainstream media, particularly in the West, where there were so many stereotypes and, phenomena that historically, I think I find enough reason to say is Hindu phobia. It's a relic of old colonial stereotypes and so on. And I guess that's why Swami put me in a revolutionary or a Marxist profession, because I understand, the need for social change, but I also understand where it has gone wrong. So in any case, as we all know, politics has become very polarized around the world, particularly in the United States. And it's very difficult talking about such issues, but somehow Swami seems to guide my pen, and I write about things hopefully in a way that even in these divided times, people can find common ground on. So one of the interesting things that happened in the course of my writing about Hinduism is I became friends with a group of activists in London. They have a small um, organization called Hindu Human Rights. They were one of the first people doing human rights stuff, and they're not at all involved with any Indian political groups. They're not from India. They're all British working class lads. Okay, so taxi drivers, musicians, a very interesting crowd. And the main person in that group is a musician who goes by the name of Arjun. And this fellow is a Swami devotee. So the stories he has told me and the kind of devotee Swami has in the gritty streets of working class UK, I find those amazing. He says there are gangsters from the Caribbean. There are Muslims from the Middle East. And, and he tells me this, and I'm sharing this with our satsang today because sometimes we forget, because most of us are Indians, and, we tend to assume there is an Indo-centric Swami, but there is a global Swami who is, doing his magic and wonders with all sorts of fascinating people outside, the Indian shores as well. And Swami, used to say about, and I say this because we are living in difficult times politically, and, war in the Middle East, polarization, propaganda, environmental concerns. But as my friend reminds me, Swami did used to say there is going to be a time when the whole planet is going to understand and follow, call it Sanatan Dharma or Sai teachings, or call it what you will. But I think there is a very, very optimistic message we need to recognize from Swami. And the fact that he made me hear it through, some very, very interesting friends, in UK out of all places. So I remember a story with this particular friend that just happened 3 or 4 weeks ago. Apparently, this friend of mine was sitting in the unemployment exchange or a place like that, and he called me as soon as this happened, because he was sitting there, and an elderly Sikh gentleman who he knew from 20, 30 years ago shows up. And they recognize each other, and then they say Sai Ram, because that elderly Sikh gentleman is also a Sai devotee. And so he's very excited that, there's a sudden Sai connection after many years. So he calls another friend of his who sort of works in the music industry as a, support staff and all that. And that guy is driving. And he calls and says, hey, guess what? You remember that Sikh gentleman who used to come to the Sai Bhajans many years ago? I just ran into him. And then this other friend in London who's sitting in the car says, guess what? My car just stopped behind. And he takes a photo and sends it. And my friend Arjun sends me that photo right from the middle of a street in London. The van that is in front of this young man's car is Love All, Serve All, and the Satya Sai logo. Not even Hard Rock Cafe. It was Satya Sai logo van. So, brother, I hope that answers your question, So, hello.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Those
Oh,
are
sorry.
much
Yeah.
answers. Really, like Swami's omnipresence.
Exactly. So, or even today, I mean, I'm in Pune for my break, and Kansas City, Pune, so many different connections. So sharing a story about people in two different places in London having, that I thought that was just incredible, especially when he sent me the photo. Imagine, when you're driving in traffic and all the thousands of cars, and just when you get a call about a Sai incidents, the cars, you suddenly realize you stopped behind a Swami, van, So things like
Yes.
that are happening. I'm sure much more vivid and obvious signs have manifested themselves among Sai devotees, but I think these are some things that come to mind for me.
Wow, those are all truly amazing.
Some more assurance, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
It's amazing. And then, yeah, I guess one other question I have on my mind is, so after Swami's Mahasamadhi, did you get a chance to visit Prasanthi Nilayam after that?
Yes, yes. It was actually a very moving and special experience. I believe it was January 2013, I think. Or was it 2012? Sorry, I'm not able to remember. It was a year or two after. I went with my friend and Sai brother Vinayak, who's my senior from school and also a former student of Swami's. And a former student of mine, strangely enough, he was my student the very first year I taught 30 years ago in UMass, who shares his birthday with Swami. So it is very interesting. He's not from a Sai family or he's not a devotee as such, but he's just a spiritual seeker. So the three of us ended up going to, Puttaparthi together. And I think that was the time Huffington Post was still publishing me. So I wrote about it. So, um, you know, it was, it was very reassuring going to Prasanthi Nilayam. It was very reassuring because, Swami is there. And then a couple of years later, I think we made the first pilgrimage there with our son. So I have been about 2 or 3 times. And yeah, I mean, yes, of course, for those of us who had the privilege of having these personal interactions with Swami, it is poignant in a way. But it's also reassuring, you know why? Because you start to see a lot of younger Sai devotees who probably did not have the face-to-face interactions with Swami, but guess what? It doesn't seem to matter to them. And that is the beauty of intergenerational continuity or Sanatana Dharma or moksha being a multi-generational project, speaking as a social scientist. Yeah, I think that has been very thrilling for me, that energy is being carried forward. In fact, I still remember, one of the first things in that book my mother gave me, Satya Sai Parenting. Rita Bruce, I think, is the author. In that, she says that in a lot of Sai families, children take their time to come because these are very old souls. Because by being born into a Sai family, their multi-lifetime work is pretty much almost done, and so Swami is doing the matchmaking in a very, very careful way. And oh, I think I forgot what I was going to say. I think the idea that these are old souls in a sense, that get born into I think spiritual families. So I remember Rita Bruce's book talking about it, and perhaps that's true. Swami has put us, I think those of us who are in sort of the parental generation, 30s, 40s, 50s, I think he has put us as much in the care of our elders as our kids. So that is Bala Shiva, Sai Shiva in action now.
So
So
true.
very true, very well said. Does let's see.
Yeah, Sairam brother, your sister is here. If not, you please say a few words about her on behalf of her also.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I don't know. I think she was under the weather or something. What's happening? I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, I'll share a moving story. So my sister lives in Hyderabad and she's a artist. She works in stained glass and um, she has one son, my nephew Avish. My son is Varenya, by the way. So my mother was very, very happy about her two grandsons, every time we would visit, she would be very, very happy. And I think she counted, her grandsons as probably Swami's greatest gift to her. And yeah, probably we'll conclude on a on a poignant and reassuring note, which is that I last met my mother in July, August last year, after 2 years of COVID. And then we were planning to have a long stay because this was going to be my sabbatical year. But then I think about a year ago, first week of December, my mother told me that she had been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And so those 2 months were very, very difficult for us in the sense that it was a shock, and so my sister was doing the caretaking and organizing on the spot. And, so we were planning everything. And things went crazy very, very fast. And the first step, we had to figure out what we were going to do because they said there was no treatment. It had to be palliative. So we started making some arrangements, and she was just very normal, right? I mean, she was walking around. She was having a little stomach discomfort. In fact, that's how we found out, because the stomach discomfort had persisted for months. And then once we found out in December, we started making the plans every day. And I was actually scheduled to teach in the spring semester, spring 23. I applied for a leave of absence because, I mean, I couldn't, I didn't want it to be a situation where I had to leave suddenly, or, I said, I just want to be with my mother, and my university was very understanding. And so we were making the plans to go for a long stay. And that long stay part I emphasize because even till about the second week of January last year, till about January 10th or 12th, none of us thought it would be so soon. Okay. Because she was pretty much looking and walking around and being the same way she was. And the doctor said, her condition, 6 months to a year is what we are looking at. So we were looking at, basically making plans to be with her for 6 months, or maybe even a year, maybe even a miracle, because like in all Sai families, one of the first things my sister and I did was coordinate. And they didn't, apparently they couldn't find Vibhuti in the house, but Brother Vinayak had just returned from Swami's birthday. So I think my sister went and collected Vibhuti. And so all this was going on. And then some very, very unfortunate things happened. On January 12th, we went for a small walk near a house in California, and my wife tripped and fell and fractured her elbow. And it wasn't even a straightforward fracture. It shattered. So surgery, pretty intense pain, pretty intense surgery. And even as we are dealing with the surgery here, my mom suddenly goes critical. So at that point, my sister and I had to make a lot of decisions very quickly. Some doctor friends in our family were saying shift her to an emergency room. And then, we both had to figure out what was the right thing for her. Is it palliative care at home, or is it going to be public? And now those few weeks, she was very clear that she wanted her privacy respected. I mean, afterwards, my sister was very keen that people should talk about palliative care. There's nothing to be ashamed of it. And, she found some very good, I think, palliative care providers who came home, gave her pain medicine and all those things. But suddenly things happened very, very fast. And then between, I think, the second week of January, in about a week to 10 days, every day, her condition was getting very rapidly deteriorated. And every day the doctor's reports would come, and it was like those horrible days in 2011 March, reading Swami's reports. Suddenly trying to understand what does critical but stable mean. Is it good news? Is what is going to happen? And then finally, the last 2-3 days, she was pretty much on medication, so she was not conscious. So I'd like to share a very intimate memory, because probably that's what my sister would have shared. I think the night before I started, so this must have been the 25th or 24th night in January. My sister made a video call. We were on the video call, and we were all singing bhajans together. And my sister was describing to Amma what she is seeing, what I believe, I don't know, call it counseling or call it creative imagining or whatever I don't know what the modern counseling terminology for it is, but she was describing to Amma the most beautiful memories of Prashanti Nilayam. And she would say, Amma, Swami, idgo, nik manchi chira pettukoni unnaru, chustunnava, and things like that. And, so on one such moment, my mother by then was, completely on medication. She was not speaking. A teardrop came from her eye. So my sister and I believe she was very much in the presence of Swami. Swami was there with her. And then I made some arrangements for my wife's care. And I got on the plane, and I think about maybe an hour or two after the plane took off, I got a video call from my sister, and the Wi-Fi was not, I think, capable of doing a call. I couldn't see anything. I said, "Can you send me only texting was working." And so my sister wrote, "Sairam, Amma has gone back to Swami." And yeah, so that was it. And so I was on the plane, and then a lot of important decisions had to be made. So my sister, my cousin from Chennai, my cousin from Bombay, 3-4 cousins were on the spot. And so, a very important decision had to be made with, first of all, medical and biological considerations, and then spiritual considerations, then Amma's sentiments, the sentiments of people on the spot, traditions, rituals, all these things. And so my sister asked, so which way do we go? I said, you and the cousins on the spot, I trust you all, make the right decision, consider everything, and make the decision you think is best. And I think after an hour or so, they decided they would go ahead with Amma's ceremony. And it was such a poignant and strange thing. I was in the sky, for 15 hours, watching and participating via, WhatsApp messages. And I think I was able to get Twitter also, I don't remember, but seeing photographs, sometimes even some small video clips, And so finally, by the time I landed in Hyderabad, it was about, I think, 3 a.m. the next morning. So I went home. It was a strange time. And my sister held the fort, she and her friends. I mean, she, was there by Amma's side and, took care of her. And after that, the next day, we went and we collected the ashes, and we went to the river. And yeah, those 2 weeks were very, very profound and poignant. And I think we all came together as a family. What's left of it, in a way, I'm sorry, that sounds very depressing, but you know, I think that is the legacy of our parents. And I don't know if this is of relevance for some of us who have lost our parents and so on. Sometimes we see them in our siblings, and yeah, Swami has been the chief of the family. Let's say he's the chief of the universal family, and he's the chief of every single family as well. So yeah, so that is where we are. So by the way, one of the reasons I'm now in India is so that we can perform the annual ceremony, the Samvatsarikam, in February. And yeah, so we also have a legacy, in the sense that our mother and father were both public figures, and Amma in particular. So we hope to do something to honor her memory as a celebrity and a film star, and do things. But anyway, so the Sai saga goes on. For now, we even if our human mind is too skeptical, Amma's favorite dog, Honey, goes and gives us hints that Amma and Nanagaru are with Swami, and Swami is with us, right? So I think, yeah, that's a note we should, probably conclude on. Swami is with us always.
Yes, brother, well said. You're so correct. Definitely. We're all blessed today. In your presence, we have been listening to all your experiences about your parents and sister and yourself. It's just the beginning. Maybe we want to listen to you more, like in near future. So looking forward.
And one thing is, so we hit 12 a.m. here, so it's officially 2024 in the Central Time Zone. So one question, or it's kind of like a concluding statement, is would you have a message for all of us, kind of more like a New Year message that you could share with all of us?
Well, I think the Swami message about New Year right at the beginning. Let me wager a pun, the kind of pun probably Swami might have made, or now I'm convinced this pun it wouldn't have occurred to me. So I'm going to say that Swami is putting it in my head. Swami said, live every day like a new year. Like, it's not just what the calendar says, or what the ancient Romans or Pope Gregory decided is the new year. We are blessed to live in such a culturally diverse environment where we can have. Today is the kind of modern global New Year, so let's celebrate that. Then we'll have Sankranti, we'll have Yugadi. So we'll have multiple reminders for New Year's. But here's a little idea I think Swami just put in my head. The best way to make every day a new year, New Year's. So I think listening. So I would, as a communication professor, perhaps I will wager that maybe a good resolution for all of us in this age of digital media and too much screaming and noise, and this impulse to react and express views all the time. Let us also figure out what it means to have New Year's. Okay, in the sense, listening. I know people say new eyes, learn to see things anew. But there's a very interesting book I read a couple of years ago. It's called Nada Brahma, The World is Sound. It is written by a jazz musician who worked with Ravi Shankar and Zakir Hussain and John Coltrane, everybody, the greats. It's the philosophy of sound, of Nada Brahma. And so I think cultivating listening, both physically and in terms of paying more attention to what others are saying, and not reacting immediately, because this phone is such a double-edged sword. we are all sort of been primed, conditioned these last few years into, reacting immediately. And I teach a lot about generational sociology. And, there's a book called iGen by psychologist, forgive me, professor, citing one book after the other. But, apparently, youth who are in the age group of, say, 13 to 17, they change the screen at a rate of about once every 19 seconds, phone, laptop, iPad, whatever. They're more comfortable using emojis and texting, and they're losing the competence to read facial cues, voice cues. So practice new ears and listening. And as parents, I think this is one thing that would be very nice if you could encourage children and give them exercises in IRL, in real life interactions, figuring out facial cues, voice cues, small things like that, because that is a very basic human communication competence that is disappearing very fast, and researchers are warning us about that. So and luckily we have a great tradition in our Sai family, which is our bhajans. And so Nada Brahmam, Sabdham Brahmam. By the way, favorite CD of mine is the Swami's Golden Voice, with all his old songs, Tandava Keli and Broche, whatever, and all these. So hearing it in Swami's voice, I think is a great way to, get new years and a new year always. Sign up.
Sai Ram, very well said, brother. It was truly a blissful message. So I'll give it one last chance. Does anyone have any questions for Brother Vamshi? Please feel free to unmute. Oh, you do have a question.
Just one more quick question for you, brother. So, Teluguloనే అడుగుతాను నేను ఇది. So, మీ communication skills are so well in all languages, you're in Telugu, English. Your communication skills are so, చాలా బాగా చెప్తున్నారు మీరు. చిన్నప్పటి నుంచి అంతే అండి, మీరు after you got lessons from Swami, you are more confident in what you are saying. And your field is also so like unique, right? So how you can analyze or describe about it?
Well, thanks, Adi. Chinnapur nunchi, I would say actually, I was most comfortable speaking in English primarily. కానీ తెలుగు బాగానే చిన్నప్పటి నుంచి తెలుగు అంటే అమ్మతో ఎప్పుడు తెలుగు మాట్లాడేవాడిని. నాన్నగారితో ఇంగ్లీషు, అమ్మతో తెలుగు. Reading and writing, Telugu is, I would say, just basic. I try sometimes to write in Telugu, but Telugulo anta pravesam లేదు నాకు రాయడం అంటే లిటరరీగా రాయలేను, just functional. But speaking, public speaking గురించి అడిగారు. Thank you. That's a good point. Actually, now I just remembered, I was not always a confident public speaker. So, school ఉన్నప్పుడు రాసేవాడిని. Writing, I was always happy writing, and I think I was a competent writer. Public speaking, I used to avoid. In fact, my father used to say, quiz team lo unna, debate team lo unte inka baguntundi kada. But I used to be very nervous about debating, and I don't think I ever spoke in our school assembly. I don't know when I started. I think, college lo unnappude, when I was doing my PhD, I was given a TA job of teaching. So akkadi nunchi modalaindi. Probably, I think, the subject has helped me become a public speaker, in the sense that liberal arts classrooms lo, as opposed to, say, I think I remember when I was doing my MPC in my high school, and also in my 2 years in engineering college, usually classrooms are very one way. And the lecturer writes something on the board, and it's very straightforward. కానీ అమెరికాకు వచ్చి ఈ మాస్ కమ్యూనికేషన్, మీడియా స్టడీస్, సోషియాలజీ, ఫిలాసఫీ ఇలాంటి క్లాసెస్ తీసుకుంటున్నప్పుడు Then I realized it's, the classroom can function not just as transmission of information, transmission of formula and memorization, whatever. It actually takes place like a dialogue. So it's a conversation. So our teachers also, most of my teachers were very good at, inviting participation. So అలా క్లాస్లో అందరూ ఇలా ఓపెన్గా మాట్లాడుతుండేవారు. అండ్ అఫ్ కోర్స్ there is an amount of nervousness because you don't know, how people will judge you అవన్నీ ఉంటాయి. కానీ I think the practice of, speaking in a liberal arts classroom helped me do that. So, yeah, I think that could be a good practice as well, in terms of communication. Um, Swami once made a joke. He's 1990s low, because the TV boom came to India. All these very cruel, violent TV soap operas started coming. So Swami started saying, "Television kadu, it's televisham. It's poison." So I made a joke in 2011 or 12 that if somebody mentioned Twitter to Swami, he would have said, "Idi Twitter kadu, it Twitter. Andar tittukuntu untaru." So, yeah, so I think Swami was embodied communication. I mean, he was so gracious and perfect. And my father used to say one word about Swami. I'll share that. Auchityam. Swamiki chala auchityam. So, it's a word describing our Bhagwan, told to me by my father. And I think that is a wonderful word to aspire to as well, appropriateness.
Wow, that was every question always ends up having such a wonderful experience. It's truly amazing.
Swami's blessings that he's, making me remember that, he's there. Like what Sister Lakshmi and you said yesterday, like just leave it to Swami. He will tell you what to say tomorrow. And I trust he has, helped me say useful things.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Every
yes.
single word was amazing. It was all like, we could feel like, Swami's presence.
Yes, brother.
Wonderful. So I thank you for sharing this wonderful occasion with me, and Swami's blessings to me. I'm so grateful, and I look forward to more interactions. And
Yes.
happy Sai New Year from Punya to Kansas City.
Oh,
Wow.
thank you so much, Brother Vamshi. On behalf of the Kansas Sai Center, we'd like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for sharing such divine glimpses of Swami's divinity on the auspicious occasion of welcoming the 2024, the New Year, and it was a Sai-filled New Year for sure. So we thank you once again from the bottom of our hearts.
Thank you. Saira.
Sairam.
Sairam.
Sairam. Now we'll be moving on to Mahamrityunjay Mantram 3 times, followed by Harti and the Vibhuti prayer.
ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीय मामृतात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीय मामृतात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीय मामृतात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्तजना संरक्षक भक्तजना संरक्षक भक्ति महेश्वर ॐ जय जगदीश हरे शशिवदना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका आश्रितकल्पलतिका आपद्बान्धव ॐ जय जगदीश हरे माता-पिता गुरुदैवमु मरियन्तयु मेरे स्वामी मरियन्तयु मेरे नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नागेन्द्र शयन ॐ जय जगदीश हरे ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी वो साई महादेवा सत्य साई महादेवा मंगल हारति अंदुको मंगल हारतुलंदुको मंदर गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरे नारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण नारायण ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा साई नारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण नारायण ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा साई नारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण नारायण ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा ओम शांति 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 समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ओम शांति शांति शांति
जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय परमं पवित्रं बाबा विभूतिं परमं विचित्रं लीला विभूतिं परमार्थ इष्टार्थ मोक्ष प्रदानं बाबा विभूतिं idamashriami. Sacred, holy, and supreme is Baba's vibhuti, pouring forth in brilliant streams, display of vibhuti. Show auspicious is its might, it grants liberation. Baba's vibhuti, its power protects us. Paramam pavitram Baba vibhutim Paramam vichitram Neela vibhutim Paramartha ishtartha moksha pradhanam Baba vibhutim idamashayami Sai Baba vibhutim idamashayami Om 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 Brahma Param Brahma Havir Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamashritah Prana Samayuktaha Achamyannam Chaturvidam Om Shanti Shanti Shanti